is the greatest moment in my life.
Hey, yo. How are we doing? How the hell is everyone? Straight away, Sharon in the chat. Bang on 9 p.m. It's Monday night. You know what that means. Of course you do. Of course you do. I am Cy, and you will notice that Mr. Mags is still away on vegetable-related issues. So, joining me this week in the hot seat as our special guest host, helping me wade our way through this week's Chain Wrestling Live, is my partner in time from the Waiting Room podcast, Mr. BenNny Mack. How are we doing, sir?
Oh, loving it, mate. I thank you very much for letting me come on the show. I still will not get tired of the partner in time. Obviously, a reference to the Waiting Room there. For those who actually listen to that show. But yeah, it's great to be here. And I very quickly I know I'm sort of taking over already. But
Carry on.
I contacted Mags last night, asked how he was doing. You know, he's doing good and everything. I wanted to give him a toast and everything, basically, but I didn't know what he drank. And now I'm, a big whiskey drinker myself, but he did say he likes a bit of whiskey. So if you don't mind, even though I'm the co-host, I'd like to give a little toast to Mags and say, thank you for all you do, and hopefully we'll see you back on this show soon, because us guest hosts are ruining it at the moment. That's all I'm saying on that
one. Oh, mate.
We miss you, Mags, I'm saying, so come back soon.
100%. Can't wait for you to return, my friend. And yeah, we're messaging quite regularly, me and Mags, and hopefully that will be quite soon. Anyway. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever and whenever you may be listening or watching from. This is Chain Wrestling Live with not Mags and Cy, a Radio Techers production. I am Cy, and with me this week is the bank statement to my Bayley to belly, and I've got a big old belly too. The women's revolution to my high levels of confusion. Just ask the people I podcast with; they're fully aware. A podcaster that's either so clever or so cocky that he made his own vignette for returning back to the show.
Well,
Benny. Good to have you here, my friend.
It's all right, mate. That was good. I like that. I'm gonna play that over and over all the time now. That's gonna be on every podcast I ever do now. That was good. I thought it'd be a nice little tease, because you were teasing out that you hadn't released who it was gonna be.
Yep.
So yeah, I thought, why not? I mean, there was a story behind it, but I thought a bit of fun. I think people liked it.
I thought it's good, mate. It's good. I'm nowhere near as talented as that. I can't do anything. I mean, I struggle to sit here and do the chat and talk with you at the same time.
Sure, that's not a problem.
Again, Magsy, I miss you, mate. Speaking of the chat, let's dive on in very quickly. We have Mr. Dan Griffin here, my other partner in time from the Doctor Who podcast. It's fantastic.
Cheating on me with somebody else.
Good evening, you rambunctious rabble. I'm going to have to look at what that means. Cool. Scottish Danny. I hope it's a good thing. Scottish Danny, evening CWF. Evening, Danny. Thanks a lot for joining us again. Morty there. Evening, Nutters. Hello, Morty.
That was good.
Dan Griffin again, the OG partner in time. And here I am, the side chicken time.
Well, we might have to get a triple threat going at some point then.
Mate. Get on the Doctor Who pod, mate, and stuff like that. Sharon saying hi, Benny there.
Mrs. Side.
Got here. Cheers to Mags. Dan continues.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Do that again.
Mill Chris saying, evening, everyone. I'll be like the hokey cokey tonight. I'll be in and out a fair bit. Okie doke, mate, no worries. Scottish Danny saying toast. And love you, Mags. Morty again saying to the Podfather.
I like it.
And Scottish Danny saying that was a cool vignette straight out of the WWF.
Oh, mate. Every video I ever make is inspired in some way with WWF normally, but that one is not actually, believe it or not. So
okay. So what's that one inspired from?
Oh, you want to know? Okay.
Yeah.
So well, the truth be told, you already know this, obviously the chat don't, but I actually made that video, I think in about it must have been about 2015, 16.
Okay.
So all I did was slap the Chain Wrestling logo on the end. I was going to redo one. I thought like an NWO takeover type style, but the time I had free, I didn't have time to really sort of make it, which I'm sad about now. Maybe we can do a return video for Mags. Maybe that'd be something cool, wouldn't it? But I don't know how many people are aware. They probably are. I was a big fan of Chris Moyles back in the BBC days when he was on Radio 1. Obviously, he left there because of apparently he was too old. Anyway, years later, he's now on Radio X. And the video was actually a homage to him because he actually did a video where he walked up the stairs, then up the ladder into the attic, and then walked into his attic and pulled out his cans, his headset. So it's very similar. That the little mixer you see in the video, by the way, I no longer have. I have a bigger one now. I would move my camera, but I'm afraid everything will fall off, so I won't move it. But I've got a bigger one now. That was like my starter kit. We're from like yourself, you've got your headset and your laptop. I started with that, and then I've progressively sort of bought kit over the years. That thing couldn't handle. We were doing a show, and it couldn't handle 3 mics. There was continuous hissing and buzzing, so I had to then fork out for another mixer, basically. But yeah.
So whenever I'm recording, I hear hissing and booing.
That's the crowd, mate. That's the crowd.
That's the audience.
You're a heel, mate. That's what the beer's for, man.
That's it. So,
hi,
Connor in the chat saying hello to us there. How you doing, Connor? Good to have you along again, bud.
So yeah.
But yeah, BenNny, first is it the first live you've been part of, or second live? Was the one you were with us before, weren't you?
I came on when Mag was on, like, because you were. I forgot what the pay-per-view was. Oh, Backlash. No, wait, what were you doing? There was a show that I really wanted to be a part of because you were doing a particular match. My favorite.
So it would have been on for the live portion, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, I popped in and I got kicked off within seconds of being on as well. If you go back and watch it, I go like and I disappear. So yeah, it was cool to be a part. I think I was just on for the first part. I can't even remember now, mate. It was a couple of months ago, definitely more than that, probably. I can't remember, mate. Show
it's a while back, mate. So, I think this is episode 41, 42 now. 42 it says on the screen. So I'll take that as being right because I did write it myself. So
yeah, was it like there was I know it was a match, I think, and I said it was one of my favorite matches.
Oh, here we go. The wrestling encyclopedia himself, Scottish Danny, says here, Royal Rumble 2001.
Yeah, thank you very much, Danny. I could not remember. It's that whiskey's gone to my head already, man. I don't know how does it, to be fair.
A comment here in the chat as well from Purple 01 Pixie. Nice boob, Si. Yeah, I just realised it is like I'm growing out of Bailey's shoulder, isn't it? The way I've done this. It's not very good.
Like your missus hanging around in the chat, that would be mine. It's going to come to trouble. So.
Oh, brilliant stuff. And we have someone here as well. NJB88, good evening to you both. Hello. Thank you so much for joining us.
Is my buddy NJB, who we are launching our second season of our lives of doing the GM mode for WWE 2K.
Okay, right.
NJB's the other GM, basically. So he's got WCW. So he's a WCW fan like yourself, Si. So that's where he started out. So yeah, he's stopping by to support the show. And
brilliant stuff.
He doesn't like me, he likes you, I think, Si, to be fair.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. We have a lot to get through on today's show. We have a non-wrestling topic that, as always, the CWF have just been fantastic in their responses for. It tends to be certain reoccurring topics do so well. Drunk stories, anything food related seems to send people absolutely crazy. And what we're doing today, which is
very strong opinion on chocolate bars on this show, if I remember rightly.
Not necessarily by me, but but yes, we've got that. And then we've also got our wrestling match to look at the end of the show before we link on to where we go next week. However, as always, first of all, shall we, BenNny, banish a couple of really embarrassing, cringeworthy, crappy wrestling gimmicks, moments, or matches, chucking them away into the Hall of Lame?
Absolutely. It's like room 101.
The Hall of
That sound. Is that you doing that voiceover, by the way?
Sorry?
Is that you doing the Hall of Lame voiceover?
Yes, after many cans.
Was it really?
Yes.
Only now that it's clicked in, that's sorry.
And that's my middle daughter Livy saying lame at the end. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay, that's brilliant.
And then just a random fart noise I found on YouTube.
Yeah, on YouTube.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. BenNny, what you got for us, mate? What do you wish to banish into the Hall of Lame?
I'm pretty sure everybody will agree with this, and if they don't, then oh well. So ironically, it was WrestleMania Backlash yesterday. I didn't even plan this. This just happened to be the moment. I did talk about this on one of the shows I was on, but it's from WrestleMania Backlash last year. It was The Miz versus Damian Priest. Now, the the lockdown and stuff was still going on, so we still had the video boards up. But basically, they were promoting Army of the Dead or something that Batista was in on Netflix. It was a Netflix.
Okay,
film.
yeah.
Anyway, in that match, after the match ended, zombies came out and attacked the Miz.
They surrounded the ring, didn't they?
Yeah, and they kind of like, and the irony was that I think I read that after that Miz had torn an ACL, and I thought maybe one of the zombies was genuine, like went a bit too far with it. But it's one of those moments where, as a wrestling fan, I'm sure every wrestling fan has had to do this to a degree. You've almost got to justify that you're a wrestling fan.
Yes.
You're not an idiot. You know, oh, you do know it's and all that BS. And like, just, are you not? Okay. Anyway, but yeah, this is one of those moments where, as a wrestling fan, you're like, how can I justify this? How can I justify this? You know, they could have gone past this without having to have blimmin' zombies come in. I think they did a zombie gimmick in ECW when they brought ECW back.
Yeah, he's already in the Hall of Fame. That one particular zombie is already in the Hall of Fame.
I'm glad then. So I'm adding more zombies to the Hall of Fame then, because, like I said, as a wrestling fan, how can I justify this?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's meant to be entertainment. I get that, but this is too far. How I would have liked it. I know lockdown was happening and all that kind of stuff at the time, but surely they could have had, in a safe environment, maybe some of the cast just turn up and be like lumberjacks if they had to do anything. Maybe Miz called them a name and said, "I'm really an A-lister. You guys are not," just because you're in a Batista film or whatever. There were so many ways they could have gone with this, and I've made one up on the spot like that. So having zombies come out and the commentators acting like they were like, it was like The Walking Dead, and it was like a
cringe, absolute cringe.
I cannot justify it as a wrestling fan.
Yeah, Scotty Hottie was one of the zombies, wasn't he? I think.
Was he? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There we go. The encyclopedia right there, backing me up on that. Yeah, Scotty Hottie.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so
you know what? That would have made it more fun if he'd have wormed his way to the ring. To be fair,
really, and as he's doing it, a leg just falls off or something.
His hair comes out. I don't know.
We've got people agreeing with you here, Benny. We have Morty here saying, "Oh yeah, when the Miz and Morrison got eaten, for fuck's sake." My good lady here, simply, that was shite.
Yes, 100%. That's the tagline for that.
Bitch is in the chat. Good evening, sir. Hope you're all well. He says, "Ha, Morty's an idiot and a wrestling fan." So, okay, if you say so, I'm going to leave you to that.
That's your problem.
Yeah, I'm honestly, I 100% agree with you. It was cringe. It's embarrassing, and you're right. It is one of those moments where you almost do have to explain why you like wrestling to people who are unaware. You know, and those sort of things are just, just terrible.
And if that was the first time a wrestling fan gets a non-wrestling fan to come and watch that show because it's Backlash, you know, and it's, you know, it should just be called Backlash, by the way.
Yes.
WrestleMania is not needed. It was not needed years ago, so why it's needed now, I don't know.
It's just a way of them booking loads of rematches and just being...
But we know that anyway. It's called fucking Backlash.
Exactly. No, carry on,
Fuck. It's just annoying, mate. And like you said, it didn't need to be that, did it, at all? And imagine that you are a non-wrestling fan watching that for the first time, and you're 36 years old and you're watching this shit.
And this is like literally this is what you spend your money on, is it?
Exactly. So bad. And it should have, I don't think it even deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. It should just be burnt to the fucking ground.
Well, at least that was it. At least it wasn't like a reoccurring thing that many of the Hall of Fame, many of the Hall of Fame inductees tend to be characters that have at least stuck around for a few matches or so on, so you see them over and over. But I 100% agree with you. This deserves its spot in the Hall of Fame. It's embarrassing. It's cringeworthy. My God, I'm glad to see the back of it.
Yes, I'm glad now.
Mine is it'll be of no surprise to anyone that I'm going to WCW this week. And but I'm going to WCW in a later time, not the sort of late 80s, early 90s era that I love. This is WCW from 2000 and early 2000.
I thought you might mention the Shockmaster. Is he already in the Hall of Fame?
Shockmaster is in there, and what I didn't know as well that they actually repackaged Fred Ottman, who was the Shockmaster, as the Super Shockmaster after the Shockmaster failed, and that was shite too.
Shockmaster 2.0.
and Mags, I chose the Super Shockmaster, and Mags chose the Shockmaster on the same week, and we didn't actually know we were going to do it. It just kind of happened that way.
That's brilliant.
But yes, this week it's somebody who I'm not a big fan of anyway, even though this individual has gets a lot of credit for his writing, along with Vince Russo. He did a great deal of good work in the WWF, and he did some good stuff in TNA when he was there for a run as well. He's always needed to be Vince Russo's right hand man, and that was Ed Ferrara. However, it's not Ed Ferrara himself; it's the character he portrayed. Well, in fact, no, Ed Ferrara wrote the character, so fuck him. But it's the character, he portrayed. They took it upon themselves to effectively just mock Jim Ross. At this point, the WCW were firing shots at WWF.
Okay. Yeah.
And one of the things they did was have a character called Oklahoma.
Yes.
And he had the black cowboy hat, the black gear, put on the daft Oklahoma accent, shouted things 3 times in repetition, like Jim Ross does on commentary. But the worst part, well, 2 major aspects of this that I had an issue with. One, he sat there and on television, live television, and so on.
Yeah.
Seeked out and actively just mocked Jim Ross for his Bell's palsy, putting half his face down and talking and not trying to hold his cheek. It's awful. Now, bearing in mind, Jim Ross went through a really horrific time with that, and his wife and kids have also seen this, and apparently his daughters were very upset and so on, which you'd imagine it would be, because this person's mocking their dad who's been seriously ill. Another moment was also standing there in the ring, calling a doctor out when he was working a program with Medusa, or Alundra Blaze, as some people from the WWF may know her.
Yeah.
Over the Cruiserweight Championship, which, he then ended up having to vacate because he couldn't make weight, apparently. But he was a Cruiserweight champion at one stage, working against Medusa, and he ended up covering her in barbecue sauce. And also as another skit where he just rips her apart for getting breast implants. When Medusa in interviews openly states she wasn't very open-minded to that idea, but it was actually Russo and Ferrara behind the scenes who encouraged her to do it, because they were having lots of So but the big one for me is the Bell's palsy situation. Yeah. Absolutely disgusting. The fact that Jim Ross is an absolute legend in the business. I've said it so many times, but he is the voice to my soundtrack growing up.
Yeah.
He's not the voice to my. He's the soundtrack. His voice is the soundtrack to what I'm watching. I
know what you meant. Yeah. It's obviously I started watching in 2000, man, and seeing, like, I remember it's one of my favorite moments of all time. Jericho winning the WWF title after bringing the APA out, and obviously had to give it back after. But JR just nailed every moment in that match, and we've got a new champion. I can hear that so clearly in my head, and the crowd response and Jericho. I can do it. I can do it no justice. But and there's so many moments. Stone Cold, obviously, stomping the mud hole. There's so many, but Jim Ross delivered it in a way, I think, as a fan, you felt, and he verbalized whatever this was inside you in that moment. He verbalized it on screen, and you just were like, or no.
So many great calls. I mean, good God Almighty, he's been broken in half with Mick Foley. The boyhood dream has come true at WrestleMania 12, where Michaels won the championship. So many great, fantastic calls throughout the years. And I've said it so many times. It's brilliant now when I watch AEW, because he calls matches on AEW. I can sit and watch him still being the soundtrack to what I'm viewing. With my daughter, basically, so with my daughter, who is now getting to see Jim Ross is now her commentator as well, which is fantastic for me. But that is my entrant into the Hall of Fame this week, Benny. I'm chucking in Oklahoma and Ed Ferrara, the piece of shit. I'll tell you how bad it was. I mean, Jim Cornette's a bit of a prick. Let's be straight here. But Jim Cornette confronted Ed Ferrara, spat in his face, and challenged him to a fight because of how he was treating Jim Ross on television. So as much of a crazy bastard Cornette is, fair play to you in that moment, sir. Well done.
Yeah, he has his moments.
Yes, exactly.
I think most of the chat's agreeing with you, to be honest, Si, based on what I can see.
Yeah, looking here. I mean, first of all, we've got a bit of a compliment for your microphone. Fitch there, the hairy housewife, he says he has a similar microphone to you, although his is black. Couldn't get the red one, and he's kind of jealous now.
Okay. I forget the make of it, to be honest. I've had it for so long. I wanted a condenser mic for so long, and I've managed to get one finally. Had a few issues with it to begin with, but it's
Yeah.
again how to power it basically and stuff like that. But luckily, there's phantom. I'm getting a bit nerdy now. There's some phantom power going on here, and sometimes it buzzes.
Mate, it's all over my head. I ain't
Yeah,
got a
but
clue.
it's cool, man. No, and it wasn't that expensive actually. I'll try and remember the make of it, but it wasn't that expensive really in the grand scheme of things. So
Yeah, fair enough.
and it will work for your laptop, by the way. Si, it has.
I've got a microphone literally just above my head here that I'm going to start using very, very soon. There we go.
Ooh,
Look
shiny.
at that. Look at that. Eh? It's hanging from a plank of wood that I've glued to the top of the wardrobe.
Oh, God. It's gonna be like a moment of just like poof,
Yeah, just falling and knocking me out. Yeah, that's it. I'm just on the floor with a cable sticking out my head. Dan Griffin there saying Oklahoma was fucking dreadful.
Yeah.
Yes, he was. And everything Ed Ferreira did anywhere near any women's division or indeed anywhere near a woman was grotesque. Indeed, it was. Your buddy there, NJB, saying he remembers that. So unnecessary. The Monday Night War was one thing, but you don't mock medical conditions. Very true. Talking about Cornette there being correct in his actions, Dan Griffin says a stopped Cornette is right twice a day.
I like that. I like that, Dan.
Morty here saying, Christ, there's two of them. Fitch warbles on about his mic too. Nice. And Dan Griffin here saying, "Oh, shiny is how Si selected the mic." Funnily enough, I did. That's it.
You're like a magpie.
You know? Yes, exactly. Shall we jump across to Twitter and a bit of WhatsApp and so on, and have a look at what the CWF have been sending us this week?
Lots of questions, man. I had to I've actually got a page over here to answer most of them because I had to think of a few of them. Not all of them. There's a few I'm gonna do off the cuff, but like there's a few that I thought, no, I'm gonna put a bit of research in it. I've done more research for your show than I've done for my own shows in probably the last 6 months, to be fair. So
brilliant.
Apart from Paranormal Junkie, that's ongoing, but you know,
you
know, but yeah.
Our non-wrestling topic this week, which again the CWF completely knocked out of the park, never let us down. Absolutely fantastic group of people. It was simply they had a choice. There was a poll up. Do you want us to go revisit drunk stories again, or do you want us to revisit Ask Us Anything? Ask Us Anything won. So you picked the topic, and my goodness, did you run with that?
Very select, very varied. But having said that, they could have asked us drunk stories in the questions because it was Ask Anything.
They'll get around there.
Well done. That was very clever of you. Whether your psychology was there, I don't know, but that's very clever of you, Si.
We will start with Rob at UTT Rob on Twitter, and he says, "Do you believe in any conspiracy theories?" So I mean, for me, so many of them are crackpot stories. But I like them because you sit there and you think, well, it could happen. It probably hasn't, but it could.
I think that's the case. I don't think I necessarily believe in any of them in a sense of like I will stand by this till this is the hill I will die on. As you said, some of them are very interesting. I was going to jokingly say flat Earth. I believe in the flat Earth. I don't believe in that at all. There's so many of them around the globe, isn't there? These flat earthers.
Yeah, exactly. Around the globe.
No, I mean, there's some good ones out there. There's some interesting ones. Do I believe in any of them? Probably not. I'm more interested when I heard more. I say more recently in the last couple of years. I thought could be a possibility, but I find it. Where's the proof? Basically, is what I'm getting at. Was allegedly when the Titanic sank, it was done on purpose. All right.
Yes, this is one of my favorites.
Yeah. Weirdly that, but so apparently, because obviously, but you could see why, because a lot of rich people would have been on that cruise, obviously. But the thing was that apparently a lot of people that were on there opposed the federal banking system in the US. That was the one I heard, and they gave them tickets to go on this maiden voyage, and they obviously it was planned that the boat would sink, so they could no longer oppose this banking system. But I mean, do I believe in it? It's more. It is very much like
there was a sister ship as well. There was a sister ship called the Olympus, and that had a crash. So they'd swapped the ships out for insurance purposes.
I heard that.
And certain people were aware of this, and that's why certain higher ups, I guess, who had tickets, didn't turn up and go on the voyage because they knew some. There's lots to go into, and we actually, I think, somewhere in the archives, so I can find it again. I'll share. I'll say if I can find it. I've got it all saved on stuff somewhere. Where we did a whole show on I'm on wrestling topic was conspiracy theories. So I'll dig that back out and we can, I'll have a listen and sort of maybe cut some bits from that for a future episode. Like, but one for me, again, same as you, Benny. I think majority of them, I find them fascinating. I find them interesting. I can look into them for however long. But yeah, most of them I think, nah, come on, mate. Yeah. But I don't think Lee Harvey Oswald shot JFK on his own. Yeah. I don't think that. I don't get that.
Yeah.
That's the one for me that I keep going back to. When
you start diving into these things and you can start going, well, that could have happened and this could have happened. And, one of the ones obviously keeps coming up is probably one of the more, I would say, not famous, but in terms of mainstream, is obviously the moon landing was faked. As far as I'm concerned, it happened. If it's proved otherwise, I'm going to be quite annoyed because I like to think that we, the species, have managed to progress space travel. But,
that's amazing. Sorry, the moon landing, possibly the greatest moment in the history of man, because it's such an achievement, and millions of people watching it around the world.
Yeah,
and if it's proven to be fake, you're going to be quite annoyed.
I'm going to be mildly annoyed.
I'm going to be quite miffed.
After my crumpets with vigorous anger in the morning. All right, what do you want from me?
I will sigh and roll my eyes.
Yeah, but to believe in any of them, I don't know, because at the end of the day, you've got to have definitive proof. And part of Power Junkies, which is coming, little cheap plug here, is because I like the concept of these things, but I'm also annoyed by watching others that don't they just kind of gloss over it.
Yeah.
I would like to, am I going to find the truth? Probably not. But I would like to do it myself to see if I can, is there any validity to these things? I'm tired of watching people not go around the corner, what did you know is a lie? Oh, well, maybe they can get rid of my debt then. If it's a lie, I'm not really in debt then, Yeah. To believe in it,
I know where you're coming from.
Yeah, it's just to believe in any particular one, not really. I find them fascinating. Is the short answer.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
Dan Griffin at Dan Griffin 21 on Twitter. He says here, you can only pick one of the following takeaways. Which do you pick? And I asked forever, and he said yes, forever. So we can only basically out of these 4, 3 are gone forever, mate. Pizza, Chinese, Indian, or kebab.
Well, technically, if you're picking one and I'm picking one, we can swap out. So there we go. It depends where it's coming from as well. That's got to be a factor, surely. Because if it's coming from a particular restaurant, then maybe not. But I think I'm torn between Indian and pizza, to be honest. But I think if I have to. Again, ask me tomorrow, it'd be a different answer probably, but pizza, I'm going to have to say, to be fair.
Okay.
You can put a lot on pizza, so I could have Chinese and Indian stuff on the top of it, in theory, so it's still a pizza.
See, in my head, I'm thinking you could be a bit sneaky and have Chinese, because if you have Chinese, you can still get chips from the Chinese.
Yeah, okay. We get sides? Was that a part of the question?
Sides. Well, yeah, it just says you can only have one takeaway. So that's the way I'm playing it. You can have a Chinese curry, can't you? So you could have a curry from the Chinese. It's not as good as an Indian, but it's still a curry. So I think there's a little bit of way around it there. But I probably would just go Indian. I couldn't be without my curries.
Fair enough. We'll trade out every now and again.
Yeah, fair enough. The other half of the Council of Dans at Scottish Juggalo on Twitter, Scottish Danny here. He says, "What is the scariest horror movie you've ever seen? One that disturbed you so much you haven't gone back to watch it?"
I actually couldn't think of one, to be honest, because the only story I can give, and I'm going to sound, I don't really watch horror films. I watch what they called thrillers and stuff, and edging on horror. You could almost, but when I was about 14, I think, maybe a tad younger, can't remember when the film came out. Maybe about 15. And for the first time, this was a whole new genre of film at the time. But the Blair Witch Project gave me the creeps for a little bit, for a good couple of weeks, to be fair, at the time.
I was going to say that.
So I didn't go back until I was probably about 24, 25 to watch it again. I watched the second film, waste of time. Looking back at the first film, it may not be the best, but it did start a genre of that type of film. So, but I remember watching it at the time, and it absolutely, as a 15-year-old, creeped me out. And every noise in the house for about a week was like.
See, when Blair Witch, believe it or not, Blair Witch was actually going to be my answer as well, because I can watch pretty much anything, and yeah, okay, it might freak me out a bit at the time. I'm a bit of a jumper, you know, when you get the jump scares and stuff like that.
Same.
But Blair Witch, it was a bit different. And again, I think I've told the story on a different podcast, or maybe even this one. Blair Witch was a bit different because when it came out, a friend of mine, I think it might have been someone my dad worked with, I'm not sure. Somebody got hold of a pirated copy on a videotape of the Blair Witch, and the quality, obviously, it's handheld footage anyway. Majority of the film, it's just a bit sketchy, VHS, but the copy was even lesser quality again, so it looked darker and
more legit. Then
okay. And this was I don't think it had come out in this country yet. This is from the States. This person my dad worked with at this factory. They were all dodgy as fuck, this place where my dad worked. So we got it a bit early, and at the time there was hype all going around my school friends or whatever that this was real.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, it was like being, because that was the aim of the film, wasn't it? At one stage when it was first to make people believe it was real, and then obviously it wasn't, and all this sort of stuff. So
made it out like it was like found footage.
Yeah, exactly. When we watched it, I had no idea what this film was. Majority of my friends didn't. We sat down to watch it, and I kid you not, I was absolutely fucking terrified. Now, I have gone back and visited the film again. I've gone back and watched it again, and it is shite. It is garbage now. But back then, on the crusty old wobbly VHS tape,
and
believing this was real. That shit me up for days. That did. That nightmares.
I would say about a week roughly. I was every noise in the house. I don't think we've been in this house long either, so we'd moved house. So like when the heating would kick in and the pipes go and cracking, and how's that noise? And like somebody walking across the landing. It's all new noises anyway. And of course, with Blair Witch, it's very much psychological, because although there are things on screen, the noises and screams or whatever, your own imagination is filling the gaps in. Depending on how
your mind runs, and of course your mind does the same thing when you're led in bed and things are happening there.
Exactly.
Morty in the chat here. Morty in the chat. Goosebumps was my limit. Brilliant. Scottish Danny actually brings a suggestion in. He's got a podcast about horror films and so on that is well worth checking out. He does with Chris Bellis. Very, very good stuff. Check the name in the chat again for us, because I can never pronounce it correctly. Scottish Danny. Terrible Awful, I think it is, something along those lines. But it's on the it's on the One Man's Meat podcast thread anyway. But he says Megan is Missing from 2011 is the one he'll never go back and watch. I'm not familiar with that one.
No, I'm not either. So,
no, I've got to check that out. He paid big money, Scottish Danny says, for that grainy VHS tape. Now, if I've still got it, I have not.
He buried it in the woods, ironically.
Yeah, that's it. My mate was just stood in the corner like that, so I ran.
Anybody stands in the corner like that now, you're like, yeah, I'm going.
Oh, it's horrible. Really shiver at your back. Sharon saying Michael Jackson's Thriller video. Sharon's got a big thing about werewolves anyway, but this video still freaks right to this day because of how scary it was. You know how scary it was then. So yeah,
like now as well. That's not good.
We have here Fitch, Doctor Strange 2. He'd never go back and see that one. No spoilers, please. My wife is going to go see that in a day or two. So let's leave it. No spoilers.
I have seen it. No spoilers, please. I just want to go. You can go back up site. NGB added one for about a conspiracy theory. I thought Let's
have a look, mate. There we go. That one just there. It catches up for me. There we go. Yeah. The best conspiracy theory ever is that Walt Disney has been frozen in ice to be brought back to life when the tech is there. They released Frozen, so that when someone Googled Disney Frozen, they would get the movie and not the theory.
I hadn't heard of that. So that's quite funny, to be fair.
If that's true, that is an amazing.
I heard that allegedly he was frozen, and Family Guy play into that quite a lot as well, because I have seen that clip. But the Frozen link in, I'd never even thought of that or even heard of that, so I thought it was quite funny, to be honest.
Yeah,
so they're entertaining half the time. So
moving on, then we have WWF Wrestling Memories on Twitter at WWF Wrestling Mems. He says, "Do you have any wrestling figures? Which ones of yours stand out, such as detail, colors, or a favorite wrestler maybe? The one that you would never pass on or sell. I personally haven't bought any since around 1992, but found a box full of them around my mum's house during lockdown when bored. Love them. That would have been amazing, finding a box of old wrestling figures. That would have been so good.
I haven't got any. I never had any because I think by the time I reached, like I said earlier, started watching in 2000. I'm around 16. So wrestling figures or figures like anything like that, no, not really. I've never owned one, to be fair. So I've seen them, and I think, oh, that's quite cool. But I've never started a collection or anything. So,
so I got a few.
I've got the space for one, mate. To be fair, I'd like to when we get a bigger place. I'd like to. I think now because there's something really cool.
I've got my desk downstairs where I do a lot of my editing and all this sort of stuff, and I've got quite a cool desk set up there with a lot of my signed memorabilia around that corner of the room and so on. And it's a cool setup. And a couple of shelves above where my computer is, I've got wrestling figures and Doctor Who bits and bobs and so on.
Oh,
and cool. I've got some. I think Galoob is the company that made them back in 1989 or 1990. Right. Some old WCW figures. I've got like Flair and Arn Anderson and stuff like that. Cool. And I've got. The wife bought me a really cool Randy Savage that's quite tall, and he stands in a little miniature ring, as well, like the ring that used to drive him down to the actual ring.
Oh, okay, yes,
at WrestleManias and so on. So that's pretty awesome. And then I've got my signed stuff around it, and I need more space. I had a couple of Doctor Who figures arrive today, and the Sharon was like, "Look, you need to get a shelf up or something."
I'd like to do it, and one thing I would like to do is have a collection of like. Wrestling belts.
Okay, yeah.
I think some of my favorites. One of my favorites is like the Intercontinental Championship, the oval shape. I know the classic is classic, but for me, because of when I started watching it, Jericho was like IC champion and stuff. So I like the oval one. So yeah, there's certain belts I would like to own, but again, it's money because they're not
expensive.
Cheap. They're not cheap, and if I'm going to buy it, I'm not buying a kid's one. I want the
proper
replica. You know, so I think that's one thing I do first, rather than wrestling figures. But again, you can't see how small this space is right here.
It cannot be as small as where I am. This is what I have. My hands will physically not go any further.
Oh no, I've got a bit more than you then. So
I've got a big gold WCW world title that Sharon bought me for my 40th. Nice. And she said don't expect that sort of thing again because it was so expensive. It was just because of your 40th. So that's cool. I like that. We have here Cam at CamGriff92 on Twitter. What, or I suppose who, is your favorite band stroke artist and why?
Why is going to be the, I don't know. In terms of favorite band, hands down is Linkin Park. Hands down. I was lucky enough to go to Download in the 07.
07, yeah, because I was there as well, wasn't I?
That's it. Yes, we had the conversation, didn't we? Ironically, you were there, didn't know who you were. We're both from like the same sort of area as well, which is hilarious.
Yeah, well, we didn't meet for a good 10 odd years later.
Yeah,
and we're both at the same festival, probably at the same stage, watching the same bands.
Yeah. So it's random, isn't it? But yeah, Linkin Park. I don't know. The feeling of Hybrid Theory. I mean, obviously, was a great album. Meteora was a fantastic album as well. Both of those first two. The other stuff is good as well. I don't dislike any of them. I make a point of buying all their albums, and every album I've brought, which I think is every single one, I've not disliked any of them. There are like later on, I might skip the odd track occasionally, but Hybrid Theory, Meteora, I can quite happily stick them on and just listen to it from start to finish without messing with it. I loved it.
See, sorry to interrupt, but just to explain how great an album Hybrid Theory is, then.
Yeah,
I like Linkin Park, but it's not something I would go and choose to put on. But Hybrid Theory is an album that even I, who isn't the biggest Linkin Park fan, if I put it on, I will play it all the way through. There's not a track on there that I would skip. So that shows how strong that album is.
Yeah, I mean their band was called Hybrid Theory.
Yeah,
when they got their record deal, they became Linkin Park. But like, I was gutted when Chester passed away. I always thought I'd go and see them again. Never got around to it. But I think it's also being in that era. I sound like a right old man, but it's like the way you are growing up. You know, you do feel like you are not being listened to because you're 16 or whatever, and you're being told you should do X, Y, and Z.
Or the teenage angst, yeah.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I never felt like I wanted to end my life or anything. I'm not making a joke of it. I didn't. But it made you feel like other people feel like this sometimes, you know? And I think, I don't know. And I also remember so clearly going to a mate at school saying, have you heard Linkin Park? And he turned around to me, and I remember this so clearly. He went, they are shit. 3-4 months later, they released In the End, and everybody was like, oh my God, Linkin Park.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I told you fucking 4 months ago or whatever it was. And it's like, whatever. But yeah, I've never stopped listening to them. I had a period where I was just doing other things. I still listened to their old stuff, and I went, oh crap, they got a new album out. And I think literally 6 months later, Chester had passed away, and it was it was gutting, man. I always thought it'd be good, but that last album he did with them was really good and really powerful, to be fair. And I think I've answered why I like them. I think just about.
Yes, I reckon.
It's freaking great band.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, we've got a few in the chat here with reference to Linkin Park. Connor here saying, to make you guys feel really old, Hybrid Theory was released the same year I was born. Reference, I'm 18. Oh, shut up, Connor.
Nearly your bedtime, isn't it?
Morty, great shite, Benny. My youngest sings the Linkin Park Jay-Z Papercut Big Pimpin', but I've told her it's Big Pippin, which is her nickname. So she sings Big Pippin spells.
I will say, when they released the Jay-Z stuff, initially I wasn't a big fan of it. But actually it grew on me, and I do like a couple of the remixes they did with him. So, so I wasn't a big fan to begin with.
No, that's fair enough. And Scottish Danny here saying Chester dying was a dark day.
Yep.
And then Dan Griffin, he was listening to Linkin Park whilst working overtime today. Amazing band. And he remembers hearing about Chester dying. Nearly started crying on the bus. Yeah, it was quite a shock, wasn't it?
It's one of those people where you kind of go, damn. And I remember seeing Mike playing the piano. I think it was in a festival over here, playing In the End by himself on the piano, and the crowd singing. And I remember getting choked up with that. And rarely do I cry over a celebrity, if that makes any sense, but I had tears. Eddie Guerrero all the time, man. If you play that video now, I'll be in tears when you come back. So you feel sad, don't get me wrong, but there are a few that it depends on what they mean to you in your particular little world,
of course,
suppose,
and from that aspect, minor, I can't pick just one band because it's literally a group of records I got on the same day.
Is it breaking the rules on your own?
Well, if I have to pick one, I can't do it. I can't. There's literally a group. Iron Maiden were the first band that got me into metal, so I've always got a soft spot for them. But I don't really listen to them as much as I used to. I love AC/DC. I probably listen to Motorhead at least once a day.
Ooh, and Motorhead over Iron Maiden for me.
And Wasp. I love Wasp. They're a band that I first heard when I was about 10, 11. Yeah, they're still one of my favorite bands now. So yeah, that'd be my list. I think
you've got a selection then.
Yeah, that's it.
I got a random question for you then. If we could quick on music very quickly,
okay.
Is there a band in your arsenal that you still listen to that your parents, your mum or your dad listened to that you've brought with you? If that makes any sense.
From my parents.
Yeah, who they listen to and you like them even now.
Yeah, my mum, more so than my dad, I think, was quite a big Stones fan, and I still listen to the Rolling Stones quite regularly. And my dad likes Slade. My dad loves Slade, and I love Slade.
Fair enough.
I mean, because it's not just a Christmas song for Slade; they were a banging hard rock band.
Yeah, so everybody thinks it's just that one song. They've done a lot more than that. So
yeah, there we go. At Radio Techers on Twitter, we have, what is your favorite civilization in human history and why? I don't really know how to answer that.
Well, this might lead into another question a bit later on. Purely because I always found I think it was at school it started really, and I love watching documentaries on it. Would be the Egyptian sort of culture and the fact that something like the pyramids. I mean, I know there's older, but like something like that old, like being still standing now is amazing to me. And the fact they did it, without machines, obviously that goes down a conspiracy theory route as well. So, but ignoring the conspiracy theory stuff, like just the fact that the way they sort of treated their dead and everything, and when I was learning it at school, even though I'm only 10 years old or whatever, it's very foreign, no pun intended or anything like that. But no, I didn't mean to be disrespectful by it. But it's just amazing that their sort of culture, really, I guess. It's always fascinated me. So I rarely watched an Egyptian documentary. So
I'll go along with that then. I'll just say because I don't know. Dan saying his band would be Alkaline Trio.
Alkaline
I
Trio.
don't know a great deal by those. Sharon saying, don't hate me for this, but Mian Liv, who's my middle daughter, absolutely loves singing his version of Rolling in the Deep. The man had an amazing voice. I'm assuming she means, is that Chester Bennington she's referring to there? I'm not sure.
I am not sure, to be honest.
Let us know in the chat, Shah, who you're referring to there, exactly which person you're talking. Maybe I've missed an earlier comment, potentially. Morty, Fight Star is his favorite. Morty, I've still not listened to that album you sent me a link to. I will do. I'll get it listened to this week, and I'll message you back and let you know what I think. But yeah, Fight Star Sin live. I enjoyed them live, so I'm looking forward to listening to the album you sent me. Scottish Danny surprises me here. Quiet Riot would be his. Quiet Riot's right up my street. It's very 80s glam, hair metal-esque. Yeah, very sort of, that surprises me. That I don't know why it surprises me, but it surprises me that would be his selection. Morty agreeing with me. Wasp is a great shout. Thank you very much. And the other half of that podcast, Fitch. So I got from my mum The Beautiful Scythe. Love their music. Yeah, okay.
Well, not that you asked me, but Beautiful South was one of the ones from my mum, to be fair. Who I brought with me. And Meatloaf. Not all of his stuff, but there's a lot of classics in there. So I still like listening to those. There's a few songs, not every song by Beautiful South or Meatloaf, but there's a selection I like, and I will quite happily play them and bop along to them, basically.
Fair enough.
So
Sharon continues here. Don't start on the Backstreet Boys again, though. I was listening to them for 3 weeks solid when Mag spoke about them last time. Yeah, fair enough. And Sharon here, having a dig at me about Wasp, because obviously the letters.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, we are sad pricks.
My brain's working tonight, so I would be like, that's a bit mean, but no, I
and she does mean Chester as well.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Here we go.
Vice City. What
Vice City. Okay, got Scottish Danny into Quiet Riot. So that's interesting. How younger people, because Scottish Danny is quite a bit younger than I. Yeah. He will discover this band. Mate, they're not around anymore, but through a computer game. I find that fascinating.
I discovered a lot of music via video games. Mainly Vice City for me was like the best GTA game. I know there's new ones out and stuff, but the music on them are brilliant. But Vice City, there was always, I used to listen to Flash FM on there and Fever 105, and then I used to go to, I think it's V-Rock. I think you'd have to correct me on it probably.
Right.
And even on GTA 5, I always go to the Rock radio station, and there's so much 70s, 80s rock on there that I didn't necessarily, I recognize it, but I don't know where from. So I used to Shazam the crap out of it. So my phone is full of video game, but it's music from the 70s, 80s, and
okay.
So yeah, man, video games have been great for music in some cases. GTA is definitely up there. So
fair enough. We got a bit of love for you here, Benny. We got a bit of love for you, and I don't get your head get too big. Fitch saying he loves the bloke you got on site. Great mic, great taste in music, and seems to have found the answer to anti-aging.
Cups of tea, people.
Is that what it is? Is it? Is that I don't know about that, because my old man, he looks old and he drinks tea like it's gone out of fashion.
Mate, I drink it like it's going out of fashion. No sugar. That's where you're going wrong, probably. Do you have sugar in it? Maybe
he does. To be fair, yeah.
There you go. That's where you go wrong.
Right, we have to start shifting through these a little bit because I'm conscious of the time. We have Visionaries Global Media at Viz Global Media, a great network with great podcasts out every day. Go and check out their stuff, all sorts from wrestling to whatever you need. Go and check out Visionaries Global Media. Favorite superhero TV show?
I thought long and hard for this side, but I think we mentioned it on Waiting Room because a certain actress was in a certain episode.
Okay, yeah.
But I have to go for, even though I watched a couple of clips earlier and I'm like, this is a lot cheesier than I remember it being.
Yeah.
But I have to go for Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman as a kid. Okay. I mean, I've got honorable mentions. I'll quickly mention the Batman, the animated series was brilliant, and Spider-Man, the 90s animated series was brilliant. But in terms of ones I followed religiously, it was Lois and Clark. So I'm going for that, man. So
see, again, there's another question coming up shortly that I've already messaged you, Benny, to say this is all you. Because anything superhero-wise, Marvel-wise, DC, anything like that, I have got no clue. I can't even start to answer that. I wouldn't even know where to begin.
Yeah, okay.
But the follow-up question was also, what superpower would you want?
I want to say invisibility, but if I say that, I'm going to sound pervy as hell.
Oh, I'm going invisibility, mate. End off.
I'm going for invisibility then.
I don't care how pervy it sounds. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I'm going. Yeah, you know, there is. Do you remember the TV series Tomorrow People? Do you remember that?
Nope.
No. Well, they used to have the ability to basically teleport themselves to anywhere in the world. That would be quite handy, I suppose. So yeah, I'm gonna have to stick with invisibility though. So
yeah, I'm about that. I'm about that. Apparently, you're being roped into the next podcast that Morty and Fitch do as a group. I don't know if you've heard Biscuit Vision, a podcast that they had many podcast people on. Yeah, well, track it down on the Morty and Fitch show. It's a good listen. It's carnage. It's chaotic, but it's funny. And cool. Apparently, they're roping you into that because they like you so much.
I'm up for it. I'll have to maybe vet it first by the sounds of it. If it's just crazy to say this. Remind me at the end of the show, dude. When we come off air to I'll put it on my. Yeah, I'm assuming it's on Apple, iTunes, or Apple Podcasts. So I will put it on my list to listen. It'd be great.
We have here Dave Pozefsky on Twitter at Dave. Dave, good guy. Dave is his name. It says here at Dave Pozefsky. What book would make a good movie?
I don't really read books, to be fair, because my attention span is terrible. But what I have discovered, because I'm obviously an avid podcast listener, he says, very easily, apparently, I listen to audiobooks. And I used to listen to a lot when I was working in an office. And we were allowed to put headphones in and work away, and because we were just drawing schematics and stuff, so nothing over the top. So I can't pick a book for a movie. But I think it would make a good series, and it's a group of books called Star Force, and they're written by B.V. Larson, and the first book is called Swarm.
Okay.
And I listened to the first 30 minutes of that book. Now, admittedly, there's a narrator, and the guy narrating it's really good, to be fair. He's American, though, so odd words that are, I can't remember the word now, but he said it wrong, basically. But, you know, I laughed at that. But the story in the first book, Swarm, I thought this could be like a series like Falling Skies. I don't know if you ever watched that.
No, mate, I've seen nothing.
No, you've seen literally nothing.
I know. I told you, I've not seen it.
That's it.
I've spent my whole life watching football, wrestling, and Quantum Leap and Doctor Who. That's it. You know,
you like most. That's pretty good. Football, yeah. I'm all right with football. I've moved away from football, to be fair. But yeah, See, if you like sci-fi in general, B.V. Larson writes. It's called. I think it's a Star Force series. I think that's what it's called. And the first book is called Swarm. And I just felt the tone that was set in that, especially in the first 45 minutes, and the way the book ended, because it leads into another. And there's about 10 books in this franchise. I'm only on like book 5, but I thought it was. Really good, and I thought it'd make a good series. So
yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. We'll jump quickly back into the chat here before we lose our way, because there's many people posting many messages, which we're very, very grateful for. I don't want to lose track of anything here. I'm not as good or up to speed as Magsy. Sharon says here, was the question a book into a movie? She wasn't listening for a moment. Yes, Shah, it was. Sharon's going to have a list because, you know, she's such a big avid reader she is. The spot on
and the famous author, I believe.
Well, very true, very true. The spot that you're being offered on the podcast with Morty and Fitch is apparently the spot that used to be occupied by Millwall Chris. They're going to kick him out, apparently.
Oh, okay.
So Millwall Chris has checked back into the chat just in time to say, fuck off, Morty, which is nice. And Dan Griffin here says, Biscuit Vision should never have seen the light of day. It was a glorious abomination. Sharon says here, with regards to that, I won't take the lack of invite personally. Sharon, trust me, you want no part of that nonsense.
I just want to do a shout out to NJB quickly. We were talking about music earlier, but only got into Aerosmith after hearing them on the Simpsons episode, Flaming Homer.
Okay, yeah.
Hello, St. Louis. You don't know what that means. Any Simpsons fans will as well. So,
for me, the answer is quite straightforward because I've not read masses of books, to be fair, but I would love to see a film made about Lemmy from Motorhead's life. The book was White Line Fever, his autobiography, and obviously, you know, he lived a few more years after that, so the ending would have to be, you know, written, etc. But the guy started off as he was the son of a priest, the son of a vicar, and ended up being and then he was his first break into rock and roll was he was a roadie for Jimi Hendrix, and he was obviously he was then in Hawkwind, and he was kicked out of Hawkwind for taking the wrong drugs and all this sort of stuff. And absolutely fascinating story. Absolutely fascinating.
The wrong drugs.
Yeah, not for being a druggie, but because he was a speed freak.
Because he took the wrong ones. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, motorhead is another term for a speed freak. So Lemmy's like constantly just doing speed all the time. Whereas the guys in Hawkwind were very much LSD, like, 70s LSD and all that sort of stuff, and dropping acid. And all that. So Lemmy didn't fit in, and there was a little bit of confrontation there with the main singer as well, because Lemmy sang "Silver Machine" just on the one take, and that ended up being Hawkwind's biggest hit. So it pissed off some of the other members of the band and all that sort of. But it's an absolutely fascinating story. Certain people of his, certain friends of his, dying because of drugs and traveling around the world, and fascinating book. Everyone should check it out.
Well, they've made quite a few films recently, haven't they? With Freddie Mercury and everything, and Elton John and stuff. So we got to find the right director.
Yes. Oh, Sharon's got a really good point here. You mentioning her book there, Benny. Don't rush out and buy it. It's being reformatted very soon. So buy the reformatted version. Okay. And Morty says, Sharon, you are in. Oh, there we go. She says here, Sharon, sorry, I can't list mine here. It would take too long, meaning all the books and so on. But she says there's a fantastic book out there called Sweet Melody. Yes, indeed. That is Sharon's book, by the way. Excuse me. Steve-O, at Total Steve-O on Twitter. And again, we'll have to fire through some of these now, Danny. Apologies. Sorry, Benny, apologies. Steve-O, at Total Steve on Twitter. What podcasts, other than within the CWF crew, he says here, do you guys listen to on a regular basis? Or do we watch any streamers regularly?
Podcasting. I want to do a shout for a mate of mine who had on my podcast years ago, and I still listen to it now. It's called WrestleSode. And he's in the Canada. Well, he's in Canada, and he's actually taking part in like a local promotion over there. So he introduces he interviews a lot of indie wrestlers over there, basically in that sort of North American thing. So it's quite cool. If you're a Fallout 76 or Fallout fan in general, there's a great podcast called Chad, a Fallout 76 story. And in terms of a podcast, it's not really like this. It's more of he has voice actors come on and they put on it's like a radio drama from the old days and stuff, and sort of in that universe of Appalachia and stuff, which is really cool. And then just stuff like I've been listening. My mate of mine threw me onto this. It's called Shuttle Pod, and it's a Star Trek Enterprise podcast where they talk about the thing. The OC bitches I've been listening to because I like the OC when it was on TV. It was a good show, and that's got and then obviously stuff like After the Bell, and then which is Corey Graves' podcast. Occasionally I'm more with those types of podcasts. I tend to dive into the wrestlers I like rather than
pick and choose the guests or the topic sort of thing.
Same with Busted Open. I do that. And then The Froth as well. I've been listening to recently with Rod Gilbert. I don't know if you've ever watched that with his wife. They were doing that during lockdown. I don't know if it's still going, but I'm still catching up, to be fair. Okay. And a podcast called The Waiting Room.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no. We can't mention that one, can I? Sorry.
I'm familiar with it. For me, it's...
You guys are right on that show.
I don't listen to... Outside of the likes of what we do, if you take that away, it doesn't really leave much.
Yeah.
Because that's effectively... When I listen to podcasts is when I'm on the bus or when I'm sat at home of an evening. So I haven't got masses of time like I used to. So because I used to have my headphones on in work. I can't do that in my new job. So it's cut back on time quite a bit.
Yeah.
I used to listen to a lot of Conrad Thompson stuff. I used to listen to the Pritchard podcast. I used to listen to the Bischoff one as well. Jim Ross's podcast is very good as well. But in recent times, I've sort of just stopped because I suppose it's the regularity of the Pritchard one. He's very, very busy working for Vince McMahon, obviously. Doesn't always come out every week. And it's just so full of bloody adverts now. It drives me mad. Yeah. I suppose the only non-CWF podcast. I mean, I listen to Bang Bang podcast every week, obviously, but I count him as part of our little group, Andy. Well worth a listen, Bang Bang pod, fantastic. And Scottish Danny was on it this week. Brilliant show. Really good stuff. The only one I suppose I do listen to still on a regular basis is The Office Ladies.
What's that
and
one?
That's about the American Office, and it's got the lady who played Pam and the lady who played Angela, who are best mates in real life. and they're literally just doing, as I suppose, as we are with Quantum Leap in the waiting room, they're doing a watch back episode by episode. And it's fascinating, and and it's fascinating hearing them talk about behind the scenes stuff, like which scenes were scripted, which scenes they just sort of ad-lib made up on the spot. It's really, really interesting hearing them talk about the behind the scenes bits and bobs of the office and how the set worked and so on. So that's kind of it for me, really. Steve-O continues. What historical moment or moments in the history of WWE or WCW do you shrug your shoulders at and just think, meh? Mine, for example, Austin versus Brett at WrestleMania 13. I suppose it comes under the bracket of a previous question of I don't get it is something we've had on the show before. Is there something that everyone rants about that you think, okay, I don't get that?
Yeah. It took me about, I was trying to think. Problem is with moments like that, you kind of, if somebody brought it up, you go, nah, I didn't really care for it, but you don't really think of them because you were like, whatever. But the one that did come to mind quite after about 5 minutes of thinking was Goldberg's initial debut in 2003.
Right.
Now I know who Goldberg is. I wasn't a massive WCW fan, but I knew people like Sting, Goldberg, DDP. There's other people off the Macho Man. I knew he was over there and all that kind of stuff, and Hogan and Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, etc. Vampiro, for some reason I remember. I don't know why I remember Vampiro.
That's a bit random.
I liked his music, actually. I think it was on the WCW Mayhem game. I think that's what it was. So, but Goldberg's debut. I mean, all right. His match wasn't too bad against The Rock at Backlash, but his debut, it or whatever, really.
That's really interesting. You said before we started recording that you weren't a big WCW fan anyway.
Yeah.
So I can get that. Me as a WCW fan, Goldberg's debut, I loved.
Yeah.
So Rock, you want to know who's next? You're next, and the spear, the music, and honestly, what a moment.
I think
the match sucked. That whole year run sucked.
Yeah. Maybe I'm thinking more like his whole run in that particular. I think the highlight of his first run for me was Elimination Chamber, when he just destroyed everybody, and that was like, that's Goldberg there. That made sense. Then it made it so he didn't win the title, when I felt actually he probably should have won the title at SummerSlam. And I think he ended up winning it in Unforgiven, I think, in a very lackluster one-on-one match with Triple H. But his debut, I don't know whether it's just, I think the spear sucked as well on The Rock, to be honest. I don't think it was done well. I don't know. I just wasn't, at the time I watched it, and I'm like, I really was like, when he came back and faced Brock, when he defeated Brock in like 1 minute 38 seconds, I was like, holy crap. But then Brock had built a massive, had a great run, beating Undertaker's streak and everything. It made, for him to beat Brock was like a big deal because Brock was so dominant in that particular bit. But his debut in 2003, I'm like,
No, I can appreciate
I really
that,
am.
Mate. I can appreciate that. Morty's off. He says, gotta go, work to do. Much love all, especially BenNy. Looking forward to listening to the rest when it's released. Yep, the audio version will be out. Well, Wednesday morning is normally with you, unless for some reason there's a delay, which is normally always my fault. But there we go. Thanks, Morty. Speak to you soon, my friend.
Bye.
Steve-O continues here. A band you want to see live but never have, and then a holiday you'd like to go on.
I could probably link all these together. So hang on. So a band I'd like to see, and what was it? Sorry, a holiday.
A holiday you'd like to go on, yeah.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I'd like to, I like the Egyptian stuff. I'd love to go to Egypt and see the pyramids. Hopefully, it won't be very lackluster. But I'd like to do it. And if they happen to be free, let's have the Foo Fighters play by the pyramids, because I've never seen them live, and I'd like to see them live, basically. So roll it all into one, basically. So that's like a dream holiday with the band as well. So
see, for me, band live, I've mentioned again previously on shows that I had what was me and the missus just referred to as like the dream list, and it was all the bands that I wanted to see. And it was like Iron Maiden, Wasp, and all these bands that I would have literally sold one of my kids to get tickets to see.
Oh, wow.
And I'm lucky enough to have basically ticked all of them off. And it was a list of about 20 bands. I'm lucky enough to have ticked all of them off, apart from Van Halen, because they just never came to the UK. And now obviously people are passing away and Dave Lee Ross retired and so on. But by the time it got to that point, they were kind of half off the list anyway, because I was fed up with their fucking nonsense about cancelling tours and shit.
Yeah.
The other one would be Poison. the 80s glam band with the big hair and so on.
Yeah.
And again, I'm a big heavy metal fan. Poison are effectively just pop music with guitars in a way. But I don't know what it is. I mean, I love the glammy hair metal side of things, but I don't know what it is about Poison. They get mocked a lot, but I just kind of always end up listening to them at some point or another. And now they are literally the last name left on the list because I've ticked everyone else off. So,
well, I managed to take most of mine off at Download in 2007 because a lot of them were there. I went a good year, I think. So, but Foo Fighters weren't there. So I managed to get to see a lot of bands. Some I didn't even know were going to be there because I was so focused on Linkin Park. I didn't know Papa Roach were going to be there, and they were there. So I got to see them as well.
That's quite good, yeah.
So, you know, and I got to see some Iron Maiden as well because they were there that year.
Motley Crue.
Well, I didn't see Motley Crue because they were in the side tent, I believe. So I didn't
I was in that side tent when Motley Crue played. Yeah, my God, it was hot in there.
I bet, yeah. But yeah, I think I've ticked most of them off because of Download, to be fair. There's an odd few in there, but Foo Fighters is up there for me. I'd like to see them live.
Yeah, fair enough. Sharon saying she'd like to go to Mars Island and spend the weekend with 30 Seconds to Mars. Yeah, this Mars Island, have you seen this? It's amazing. They literally rent out, they literally have an island in, I think it's, Sharon said it's like off Croatia, and they just take over the island and they do live performances and the band are just walking around. You Google it, look at Mars Island.
30 Seconds to Mars, by the way. I've never seen them actually. That's one that would be on my list.
They were at Download 2007.
How did I miss? Maybe I don't think I was into them then. Maybe.
Yeah, they were on very, very early. Yeah.
So,
Dan Griffin, if he could see any band ever, it would be Queen. Yeah, fair shite. My younger brother would definitely go along with that. And Sharon here saying, I think you love Bret Michaels' hair more than the music. I do like the big 80s. I would dress like that now if Sharon would let me, but she just won't let that.
Halloween's coming up, man. Halloween's coming up. You can.
Yes, yeah, and we will be running our standard chain wrestling Halloween special as we did last year. So, Handy T1TF on Twitter at Handy T1TF, real good friend of the show. Love this bloke. Been hugely supportive of everything we've ever done. He says here, thoughts on the huge Doctor Who announcement from an American Whovian. This seems like a strange choice, but I'm not familiar with him. Now, it's quite easy to sum up, really.
I'm not actually aware of this, by the way. So
okay, the new Doctor Who is a guy called. I'm gonna have to look his name up now because I'm gonna butcher this. I'm gonna get it wrong. He was announced the other day. Sorry, his name is Shuti Gatwa. If I'm pronouncing that correctly. If I'm not, I apologize for butchering that the way I did. Shuti Gatwa, and he was in the show Sex Education on Netflix.
Oh, okay. I think I know who it is. Yeah. I'm gonna have to Google it, but yeah, he was it's the actor I think it is. He was good in that, so I can see that actually. That makes perfect sense to me.
From my standpoint, I've never seen that program. I don't know the guy. So I kind of like it because it's the unknown. And so many actors took over the role of Doctor Who in a similar sort of way. So that's good. I mean, and Handy, if you want more on that, catch up with Dan Griffin and I on the Doctor Who pod because the announcement was made about an hour before we recorded this week's episode.
Oh, okay.
And it should, and that'll be with you by the time, it's Tuesday morning. It comes out UK time. So it'll be with you the day after we record this live, but also the day before the podcast version comes out. It's at the Doctor Who pod on Twitter. So yeah, check that out as well.
I mean, I thought the rumor was that David Tennant was going to take over again for a brief period.
Yeah, I never quite bought into that.
What, as in the rumor or him?
Yeah, him as the Doctor, fantastic. But yeah, I never quite
you're
bought
about
into.
To fall out then.
We have here Morty. What wrestlers from the past? And again, this is a question totally for you, Benny. So literally just list through your answers because I know you would have done your research for this because I've got no clue on anything to do with MCU. What is MCU?
Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Okay, right. I've got no idea what any of that is.
I'm rolling my eyes as much.
Yes, I imagine the wife would be doing the same thing. What wrestlers from the past would you cast as the original MCU Avengers?
Right,
Iron Man, Hulk, Captain America, Hawkeye, Black Widow, and Thor.
Right, I actually, because I didn't struggle with Iron Man at all. I listed in NJB, obviously wrestling fan as well. I like to bounce ideas off people. I knew I couldn't ask you because you're not a Marvel fan, so it would have been pointless. So Iron Man was, I've got a few here that I thought may, and then I've got ones that I said that should be it. So I got like sort of honorable mentions. But Iron Man, Ted DiBiase straight away as Iron Man.
Okay.
No, that we were so like on par with that. We were like, yeah, 100%. Ted DiBiase. And you know what? If you want to do DC Universe, Ted DiBiase, Batman as well. He's got the money, so why not? It makes sense.
I can see that.
Hulk. I nearly said Big Show, but we actually went for Andre the Giant as big as Hulk. To be fair, Scott Steiner's a good shout. Actually, to be fair, Dan, I just
Dan
saw
Griffin
that
in the chat there. Yeah,
that's a good shout. To be fair, I didn't think of that, but we ultimately went with Andre the Giant. Captain America. Now we had a couple here. I ultimately settled on one, but Lex Luger was one. Obviously, the Patriot and all that kind of stuff going on. NGP in the chat, having now thought about it, Mr. McMahon should have been Iron Man. No, although it makes sense.
Surely Mr. McMahon would be like the evil super villain.
He'd be the villain to Ted DiBiase, I think, to a degree. But where was it? Captain America. Hulk Hogan was kind of another maybe, but ultimately, I don't know whether this would probably polarize the chat, but we went with Cena, John Cena as Captain America. To be fair. He's done a pretty good job as Peacemaker, so why not?
Fair enough. We got a shout here from Dan Griffin in the chat. Jim Duggan as Captain America.
Jim Duggan does make it. Was on my list until we thought of somebody else, so bear with me. So where are we? Hawkeye. Hawkeye was a hard one. Now, I initially thought Y2J, Chris Jericho. Then we sort of thought maybe CM Punk. But we ultimately went with, and you'll like this probably, because of how his character sort of went from being sort of the good guy babyface to the dark character he became, which kind of mirrors Hawkeye to a degree. We went with Sting.
Okay.
As Hawkeye. Black Widow was a tough one initially until we started talking, and then honorable mention China was Black Widow initially, but we ultimately went with Lita as Black Widow. So yeah, and Thor. Initially, we went Hacksaw Jim Duggan as Thor. We thought that'd be quite funny. Replace the 2x4 with the hammer,
Right.
But we went with WCW's version of DDP in the end as Thor.
Okay.
It was quite a cool little thing. And I know that it wasn't asked, but we thought The Rock as Nick Fury would be quite funny in a sense of the patch on his eye, then trying to do the eyebrow with it on,
I don't know who that is, so.
Mate, watch a film once in a while. What's the matter with you? It doesn't have to be Marvel. Just watch a damn film once in a while.
Scottish Danny here. In fact, we've got a few comments I'm going to quickly run through with regards to that question. Scottish Danny, 1999 Lex Luger or 93 Lex? Got to be 93 Lex, hasn't it?
93 Lex, yeah. Because
Lex Expert,
they tried to make him the Hulk Hogan, didn't they, basically?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Sharon here saying, Captain America, Lex Luger, yes. Hogan, no. Cena, fuck off.
I didn't see that comment, so don't worry about it.
Dan Griffin, Miz as Hawkeye.
Oh, see, I went by the question of it had to be an older wrestler. I went for more like older sort of legends or whatever. So Miz didn't even enter Oscar as Black Widow. Why didn't I think of that?
Oscar as Black Widow. Dan Griffin saying here, yeah.
Man, that's some great. I think you nailed it.
Hack Thor. Brilliant. Hack by Dan Griffin there. That's awesome. Welcome to Valhalla. Oh, I bloody love Jim Duggan. Right, next question. 5 Nerds Go at 5 Nerds Go on Twitter. Okay, if you had to peg a cartoon character, who would it be?
I had to freaking Google this because I didn't know what peg meant, obviously. But I'm not going to go stoop to your level because peg is actually a noun, a short pin or bolt typically tapered at one end that is used for securing something in place, hanging things, or making a position. So for argument's sake, she put her Mac on a peg in the hall. You want to, Urban Dictionary does not. I'm not going there. All right, I'm not going there.
You're not gonna get lower to that level now.
But technically, I'm a male, so I don't have to have the implement. So
exactly,
I'm going to say Jessica Rabbit is probably up there. To be fair,
I was thinking Jessica Rabbit. Got to be done it. But yeah, like that question. If you had to peg a cartoon character, who would it be? Neither of us would require the, shall we say, add-on. Because we're male, we have our own utensils, shall we say?
We're
so
we're organic, we're not fake.
Yeah, exactly. So if anything, the question should have been, if a cartoon character was to peg you, who would you want it to be? And okay, still Jessica Rabbit, but never mind.
So, by the way, In Indian, a measure of spirits, have a peg of whiskey is also a comment because he didn't put peg in, he put peg. So there's a loophole there.
Okay.
I did my due diligence there. There's some other stuff in there, but I can't be asked to read it.
My wife in the chat, what the fuck is wrong with you lot?
Hey, I thought exactly the same when I saw. I messaged you back, didn't I? And I went, "Peg, what the hell's that?"
Yeah, I had to tell you to
just went
Google it.
And I'm like, I know it's going to be rude now. And I wrote peg, and they gave me that description I just read out. And then I thought, well, it must be an Urban Dictionary thing going on. So I had to,
Right.
oh, for God's sake, really? Like, he said it's shocking.
5 Nerds Go continues.
So he ignores that and moves on.
5 Nerds Go continues. Top 5 dad jokes.
I've got a few actually, but I'm going to do so top 5. This one's from my other half, and it's what do you call a nun with a washing machine on her head? Systematic. What do you call a guy without a spade in his head?
Douglas.
Obviously.
Yeah.
What do you call a man with a spade in his head?
Doug.
No, an ambulance. You sick freak.
Okay, yeah.
Best one for me. Well, there's the classic. What's Forrest Gump's Facebook password? 1Forrest1.
Brilliant.
And what do you call an unpredictable camera? A loose cannon. So there's,
Okay.
all right.
I got a few here that I've got a thing at the moment about, well, not really at the moment, it's been on running, where I literally do tell my kids dad jokes.
Yeah.
Because just to watch, especially ones that are like, a pun or something like that, you wait for the penny to drop and the change in their expressions of their face as they just realize how pathetic that was. So that sort of stuff I quite enjoy.
My wife is still young enough that she'll laugh at daddy. The other one will go.
Yeah.
Roll of rights for the people on the podcast. Amazing.
I had someone asked me the other day what the 9th letter of the alphabet was, and I was right. So that one got a giggle out of him because it's I, and you're counting through the alphabet there when you.
Yeah, you can see me. Yeah, smoke coming out my ears.
I'm really concerned about the calendar. Its days are numbered. Is another one. Terrible, isn't it? It cracks me up because it is so terrible. I stopped my middle daughter just as she was leaving the house one day, and I said to her, "Did you hear about the trials that they're having at the snail racing?"
Oh God!
And Liv was like, "What are you on about?" I was like, "The snail racing. They're trying to make it quicker because obviously snails are slow. So have you heard about the trials they're trying to do this season for the new snail racing?" I said, "They're removing all the shells to make them go quicker, but it didn't work. It just made them more sluggish."
Yeah.
It's just stuff like that.
Did you hear about the one? Sorry, did you hear about the Italian chef who died? He passed away.
Oh, I'm writing that one down. That's tomorrow's dad joke, girls. Okay.
You should do a daily dad joke on Twitter, mate. You should do that.
Sharon in the chat there. My wife every freaking day dad jokes. And
I had a mate of mine go, "That was such a dad joke." I can't remember the joke I told. I went, "I am a dad."
Yeah, exactly.
I'm allowed to do it now.
Actually, all the jokes we tell are dad jokes because we are dads.
Yes, you are right.
So, yeah, okay. A very quick one from our good friend Connor at Connor Knows on Twitter. Which football club does BenNy Mack support? I suppose, if any at all.
I still like watching the World Cups and stuff, and for England and stuff. I was an avid Man United fan for a long time. I've not bothered with football probably since apart from the World Cup and the Euros recently, I've not really bothered with football. I veered off, no pun intended, to the F1 really, and I've been watching Formula One. Every now and again, I dib in and have a look what's going on. But it's when Mourinho became manager of Man United, I can't stand the bloke personally. Yeah, so I'm like, they didn't give was it Moyes a chance, to be fair, to even do anything, because obviously the legacy Fergie left behind. They didn't give him chance to actually settle in. And I think he could have done a good job for us, but Mourinho's obviously a name and blah, blah, blah. I just can't stand the bloke. So I stopped watching because of Mourinho, basically. So that was my team. Not so much anymore.
Fair enough. Mr. Matt Willis via WhatsApp. He says here, a couple of quick questions for you guys this week. Which episode of The Waiting Room have you guys enjoyed most so far?
Oh, I didn't see this question.
No, it's come via WhatsApp. He sends his in via WhatsApp.
Okay, sorry. Oh, crikey. I think, I don't know. I was is Gloria come out yet? That came out Friday, didn't it? That was quite funny to record. But
that was quite a good one to record.
Yeah, I think in terms of like how we felt about Color of Truth in season 1.
Yeah, that was probably going to be my pick, or Kamikaze Kids. Both of those I really enjoyed doing. Yeah.
But also on this other end of it, when he leaped into the pervy freaking English lit teacher, because we both were like cringy and we were both like we tried not to rip into it.
I hated it.
But we, in terms of like what the hell's going on, really, like I don't, because you remember the good, not the bad, is the wrestling moment we had earlier. So yeah, they've all been pretty fun. I know it's a bit of a cop out of an answer, but yeah, I think Kamikaze Kid and we've got one coming up now. I don't know if it's going to be fun. I'm hoping it is, which is the next record we got to do. Oh crikey, you're going to I threw myself under the bus now. Oh God, what's the bloody episode called? Good Morning Peoria.
Yes. Oh yeah, because it's the DJ, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that'll be a good one to score. But yeah, it's season 1, definitely. I would say, as you've already said, Color of Truth in. And for badness, the second episode second episode in was quite a bad episode, but it was crap. And then also, let's play it again. Seymour was quite a funny one to record because we both like. We're trying to sell this show to people, but like this was a really bad way to end the season.
And we spent the whole of season 1 going, stick around for season 2, please.
please. Yeah. So I'm gonna go with play it again, Seymour, because we were almost begging people to stay with us.
Matt Willis also asks a very similar holiday question to one we had earlier on. So yeah, we've really kind of touched upon that, haven't we? And then I suppose, how many companions should the next Doctor have? I kind of like the Doctor having 1 or 2. It gets more than that, it's just a crowd then, Yeah.
I liked it when Matt Smith was doing it and he had Rory and Amy.
Yeah.
That was quite a nice, but then again, that's more about the actors and the way they played off each other, I think. I think 2 at the most.
Yeah, I agree. Are you familiar with the TV show Legends House?
I'm aware of it. On WWE Network, it was one of the first shows that came out, wasn't it? I've never watched it. In fairness, I've seen
it's a reality show with
like a Big Brother, real world type.
Yeah, and it's old wrestlers all living in the house together, and I watched a few episodes, and it is very, very funny. James at 80s and 90s Wrestling here. A new series of Legend House have been commissioned. He says, "I wish, what a show!" But imagine this has happened. Which 8 wrestlers, old or new, are you picking for the new series? I've got 4. Benny, if you've got any suggestions as well, I've got, purely because it'll be absolute carnage with the arguments and the fights, I've got Ric Flair, Scott Steiner, Vince Russo, Jim Cornette.
Well, that alone is good enough, I think. You want to throw
the show will last, I reckon, maybe 2 or 3 hours before someone's died.
Feeding or died, yes. Do you know what then? If you're going to throw them in there, Goldberg, because I think we might see we've heard of the stories from WCW back in the day when he was world champion, so that would be interesting to see how that would go. Chuck Vince McMahon in there as well.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Shane McMahon in there as well, actually, with his old man.
Daddy, love me, please.
Yeah. Who else? Go on. I think that's 3. So one more.
Yeah, one more.
Someone that would actually I feel like cause issues.
Sonny.
Fucking hell.
Well, let's steer clear of that. I think actually that's not a good idea.
That would turn into a different program altogether, I think. Oh man, Enzo.
Yeah, he wasn't popular, was he?
Stick Enzo in there as well. Hilarious.
And lastly, then, via DM on Twitter, which everyone is welcome to do as well. If you find that the tweeting the show is a bit restrictive with the amount of characters you can use, you can always DM the show or DM me direct. At Millwall Chris 1 on Twitter. Couple of questions. If you had a shed load of money to waste and you started a wrestling company, which 3 wrestlers would you sign? Now, he said here, don't think about it. First ones that pop into your head. So that's why I've kind of dropped this one on you. He says one male, 1 female, one tag team.
There's so many. So 1 male, female is probably going to be, because of the stuff she's done recently. I'm a WWE guy through and through. So, but do you know what? Charlotte Flair, I think, would be my.
Yeah.
You're going to do a promotion. You need, a Flair in the roster. Is
name value, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah. Male. Oh man. Do you know what? again, see, for me, I know there's obvious answers here like Rock, Steve Austin, etc. But Chris Jericho, man, I'm a massive Chris Jericho fan. To be fair, a tag team. There's so many I could pick here, but I'm gonna, because of the memories as a young, that's a freaking good one, Sharon. To be fair,
Sharon in the chat there.
Yeah, that's a bloody
Adam
good
Cole,
one.
Shayna Baszler, Lucha Bros. Oh, her match quality in her company will be far higher than the match quality in the company I'm about to give. I'll tell you that.
Do you know what? I was going to say the New Age Outlaws, but if you're going to go by sort of youth or whatever, the Rock China New Age Outlaws, I was about to say. Do you know what? Again, the Usos have done pretty well. I think out of the two of those, I would say, if you're ever going to do a singles run with either of them, I think Jey Uso's the one to go forward with that singles run. Maybe be a future opponent for Roman, maybe, if he's still around. Mm-hmm. But so the Usos I'm going to go with,
Yeah, okay. See, to me, I split it into two. Do I want people who I just want to watch wrestle? Or is this a business? If it's a business, the male wrestler, there's only one option
I went for the business standpoint in my head. So
active wrestlers now. I don't think you can include The Rock because he hasn't, he's not an active wrestler for a long time. It's got to be Brock Lesnar. He's the only guy who moves the needle sufficiently enough to warrant throwing money at the guy.
Yeah.
If it's match quality, I've got a real soft spot for guys like Kenny Omega and stuff like that. So, I go for that. The female is the same, I suppose. I think Sasha Banks is fantastic. So match quality, I'd go with someone like Sasha. Business-wise, I suppose you could probably look at Ronda Rousey for the same reasons you'd look at Brock.
But I feel like Ronda would be you'd only have her for 12 months.
Yeah.
Then she'd be going off doing something else.
Or I'd just pick Alexa Bliss just because I bloody love her a bit, to be fair. Tag team, I'd have to go with the Young Bucks because I just think they're so bloody entertaining. And I don't mean entertaining literally just from all their stuff on YouTube, their Twitter, and all this sort of stuff. Yeah. And the fact that they shift so much merch, to me, that would be where I'd go, Yeah,
fair enough.
Yeah, that's where I would go. Have we ever seen the 1981 wrestling film California Dolls, released in America under the title All the Marbles?
I have not seen that.
I have not seen it either, so we can't answer that one, Chris, I'm afraid.
Was one of the last wrestling films I saw with David Arquette in
it. Lastly, if you could eliminate one sporting team from history, who would you choose? As a football fan, an English football fan, I wouldn't want to eliminate, as amazingly as people would think, I wouldn't want to eliminate Liverpool or Leeds or Man City because I love the games where we're facing them, the rivalry and so on. As an English football fan, I would eliminate the German national team because I think we'd have won so much more.
Well, there you go, just because he's in the chat and he probably hates his season anyway, I'm going to say Everton.
Okay.
So a certain individual in the chat will know NJB is an Everton fan. So
right, my brother-in-law's an Everton fan.
I don't know. Do you know what I would like in terms of F1? As much as I like the Aston Martin sort of car, I miss seeing the Force India team. So if I could bring back the Force India team, I would get rid of the Aston Martins again, so I could see that car on the track. Well, I mean, in terms of that, so
okay. Dan Griffin here in the chat saying, why would anyone ask Sai if he has seen a film? Yeah, that's a fair point. And Sharon agreeing, do they even know? Oh, yeah. Why would anyone ask? I've seen Die Hard. Does that,
That's a good start. That's a good start. I'm going to have to make you watch films, mate, to be fair.
Yeah. NJB saying, I'm coming over now, run, after your Everton comments.
He does know where I live, so that could be an issue in a moment.
Okay. Fair enough. Right. Thank you, as always, to absolutely everybody for getting in contact, discussing things in the chat, answering our tweets, voting in the polls. As always, absolutely fantastic stuff. Love it. Absolutely love it. The CWF is just absolutely superb. So thank you so much. Magsy and I say it all the time. This is your show. It would not work without you. So thank you so much. However, we are now an hour and a half into our wrestling podcast. It's probably time we spoke a little wrestling, isn't it?
A bit more, yes.
Yes, indeed.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Okay then, Benny. Okay. The winner of the poll this week was Mr. Dan Griffin's selection. He chose the Bayley versus Sasha Banks NXT women's title match from NXT Takeover Brooklyn 2015. I got confused. I thought I was looking at a different Bayley Sasha Banks match.
All right.
So what I had in my mind was a different match that I thought I'd seen recently for another podcast.
Okay.
So when I put this one on, I was quite surprised with what I saw. It was different to what I expected. So we'll have a quick run through of the match, I guess. First of all, when was the last time you would have seen this? I think you said before recording it would have been a few years back.
When it happened, I watched the I think I watched the takeover the day after on the network. I literally watched it as it happened in a sense of a delay of the day, but I watched it. So yeah, I've not watched it since. So yeah, I always love going back to old takeovers when NXT was like sort of growing, and people that were there are now sort of on the main roster doing their own thing, which is brilliant. But yeah, when it actually happened is the last time I saw this. So this is the first time today that I've seen this match in however many years it's been since it happened. So
yeah, I think I'm probably the same, to be honest. And Dan Griffin in the chat there is spot on in saying you thought it was the Iron Woman match, didn't you, Si?
Yeah.
I think I did. And Sharon's agreeing with you as well there, Benny, saying when NXT was good, and it was.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was brilliant. A couple of things from this show, because I kind of scanned through the whole pay-per-view, watching bits and bobs before getting to the match. First of all, we have a vignette at one point on this show with just somebody's eyes, and they're talking and giving a message. And then she says, "I'm not like most girls." And we get the image of Nia Jax is coming. Yeah, that went fucking well.
She didn't do too bad in NXT, but yeah, it would. Yeah, overall, I mean, she made the man. If you think about it, you know, that's.
Well, I suppose, yeah.
I can't think of much after that she did really.
And there was also a scene with 4 members from the TV show Tough Enough of that year. The final 4 for Tough Enough, 2 ladies, 2 men, were ringside at one stage in the early parts of this program.
Oh, okay.
3 of them were released very, very quickly, no longer involved in the business or anything like that. The other one was Mandy Rose, who is the NXT Women's Champion at the moment. So that's quite
aware of that, to be fair. I didn't watch the whole show. I literally just watched the match. So
yeah. Well, I normally try and scan through a little bit, I suppose. Yeah. But yeah.
Wow. Mandy Rose has done well recently, so you know.
Well, there you go. There we go. Dan Griffin also in the chat saying Jushin Liger was also on that show. Yes, he was. He opened up, and it was an absolute barnstormer. The opener, Jushin Liger versus Tyler Breeze. It was fantastic.
Oh, okay. I need to go back and watch the whole event, I think, to be fair. Yeah.
It was good. Before the competitors arrive, because this is a big deal, we've got a video package, which I think WWE have always done so fantastically well. The hype programs, the hype packages for the matches, telling the story and so on. The story of Bayley's, I suppose, quest for the championship.
Yes,
and getting turned on by her friends, and for always falling just a touch short in title matches, and the fact that the fans adore her, but she's the ultimate underdog, and all this sort of stuff. So you're getting hyped up for this NXT women's title match. It's being listed on the posters as one of the main events. Huge deal. Yeah. So here comes Stephanie McMahon to steal the glory.
It's pushing the sort of like the women's revolution at this point, aren't they? So yeah, I look. I mean, again, I didn't watch the show in entirety, but I did rewind it so I could see the video package to kind of jog my memory of what had gone on to get to this point, which is WWE as you said, are very good at, because you could not watch it for a month and they'll give you a caption, the bits that matter and what they're trying to tell. And you go, okay.
That's exactly what me and Sharon do. Sorry, mate. It's exactly what me and Sharon pretty much used to do. We would always watch the takeovers, and exactly what you're saying, the video package would fill us in. And then we finished takeovers. I think that was amazing. We should watch the weekly television. And then the next thing we watch would be the next takeover. And we do it all the time.
Yeah. I love watching the NXT back in the day, because the show was less than an hour long. Yeah. So, you know, Raw and SmackDown, Raw were like 3 hours long. It's too long. We all said that before. We all know this. And then you have like a 2-hour SmackDown and then you chuck in a pay-per-view every now and again, which is like 3 hours long. It's a lot of wrestling from one company, to be fair. And when it's done well, it's brilliant. But I think having that shorter show leaves you wanting more. So when takeovers came around like this, I was absolutely I couldn't wait for it. I was so hyped for it. Something I did notice in the match, actually, which I don't think they do anymore, or at least they did in NXT takeovers back then, was that although the crowd's there and we can kind of see the crowd, it was more focused on the ring, the lighting, rather than the crowd. It
was lit in a fashioned way, I think.
Sorry?
It was lit in a very old-fashioned way, almost like the old arena for the territory days, where you can hear the crowd, they're there, but all the lights are on the
But it was about the wrestling. So that's something I'd miss, actually. To be fair, I miss NXT. I've not watched 2.0 at all. So
it is a shame. Isn't it? It was so good. It was so good. But there we go. I'll tell you what as well I liked about NXT, and this is a conversation I had with Sharon so many times. It reminded me of old school wrestling, the old territory days of wrestling.
Yeah.
Your NXT champion, you wouldn't see him on the show every week.
No.
And that was like back in, Mid-Atlantic or, World Class or all the old territory days. You wouldn't see a world champion every week. So when he was on, it was a big deal, and all this. Great stuff. In the video package, we see the young girl Izzy, who's like the Bayley super fan, isn't she?
Yes. I forgot about her. She used to be in the front row
all the time.
Every the little shows, the small arena where they did. She was always in the front row in that one spot every single time. Like the dude. Oh, was she not there? I don't remember.
No, not on this one. No, I didn't see her anyway.
What I mean is when they did the smaller shows, the actual weekly show, she'd be down at the, she'd be there. In terms of the one guy that is there was the dude in the green t-shirt in the hat that's always in the front row.
He's always everywhere.
Man. So, I follow him on Twitter, actually.
Dan Griffin commenting there, the lowering of the lights works so well live to focus your attention on the ring. Did I mention I was there? Yes.
I was genuinely shocked, Dan, to be fair.
Sasha, the entrances are made, and Bayley comes out and she's got the Bayley buddies, as they called them, and I always thought that was pretty cool. But Sasha Banks comes out and she just looks incredible, doesn't she? She just is so cool coming out in the car with the security. And I appreciate her cousin. Is Snoop Dogg? It's her cousin, isn't it? Yeah. So he's recorded bits and bobs for her entrance theme and so on now. But that original Sasha Banks entrance theme, that's a banger. That's fantastic.
It's weird because when I heard her music come on, I was expecting the dun 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 after, and I was, oh shit, she didn't have that then. I forgot about that. Sasha Banks to me is a heel through and through.
Oh, she's so good, isn't she?
She works so much better as a heel than she does. Not that she was a heel when she went to the main roster straight away, but when she became heel, I think there's certain wrestlers are better as a heel than maybe a babyface. So.
Yeah, you see it in this match. She's literally taunting Bayley before they even start. She's mocking her for having the polka dots on from Dusty Rhodes, because obviously Dusty had passed a few months previous to this event, and he was a big influence on this sort of time frame of NXT. Absolutely. So Bayley had the polka dots that he wore in his 89-90 run in the WWF. And she's calling Sasha is calling Bayley pathetic and laughing in her face. And there's a moment a bit later on where she's in the corner and she's leaning over Bayley, and just the spite in her face as she's literally just chops it off down to her. And it's incredibly spiteful. It's bully tactics, effectively. And I think she's going to be. I think she's going to move on from wrestling anyway. She's already doing acting, and I think that's where her future is going to lie. She's going to make more money and be a bigger star doing that. But if she was to stay just in wrestling, which I don't think is going to happen, but if, argument's sake, I think she would end up being almost like having a Ric Flair type career arc. I'm not necessarily saying she, comparing abilities in ring, but I think that she's fantastic as a heel, works as a face sometimes, then fantastic as a heel, but eventually will just get cheered because of how good she is in the ring.
Yeah.
Kind of like Flair.
Yeah, and like in modern day, I would even say Roman, to be fair.
Yes, okay.
Roman should have been a heel a long time ago.
Yeah.
And look what he's managed to do while being a heel with the help of Paul Heyman by his side. And
Pretty much the only thing worth watching on WWE television.
There you go. You know, we were talking about the other day, and like WWE seemed to be behind like a year for a couple of years. Like when they should have pushed Roman, I think about 2014, they pushed in the year after. I think it was, or 2013. I can't remember now. And the year they should have pushed like a Daniel Bryan, they did it the year after, and so it always seemed to be a little bit behind in terms of what I felt anyway. And a few, as you go on the internet, and even the fans responded in the crowd. So yeah, but Sasha, but I didn't know she was going to. Do you think she's going to be leaving WWE soon?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of what they're talking about. What they're doing, but she's been successful in. Is it the Mandalorian, something like that?
I've not seen. I didn't know she was in that. So yeah,
apparently I think she's in that. Dan Griffin will know. Let me know in the chat, mate.
I need to
I
watch
think she's in that. But again, that's Star Wars, isn't it? It's not really my cup of tea. But apparently she was very good in that.
What is wrong with you, honestly?
the first 3 Star Wars films, the originals, I watched them and I loved them.
Fair enough.
After that, there's just too much of it, mate. I can't be doing all that.
Well, no one can watch the MCU then, because you think there's too many Star Wars. There's definitely a lot more MCU stuff going on than
there we go. Sharon in the chat saying she's argued Reigns' heel turn for years. She did. She was one of the first voices, to be honest, I heard saying this guy would be a brilliant bad guy. And Dan Griffin confirms that Sasha is indeed in The Mandalorian. Am I saying that right? Mandalorian?
Mandalorian. Don't butcher it.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
I was not aware of this.
Effectively, Bayley takes Sasha down. They start scrapping away. They fall to the outside. Sasha then kind of takes control, and by kicking Bayley off the top rope, doesn't she? When they're sort of going on. Yeah, and Sasha's then in control for a while. There's another like little moment here with the spitefulness, the almost taunting, the bullying, where she takes the headband that Bayley's dropped, puts it on, and pretends to be Bayley doing her whoa with her arms in the air and so on. Little touches like that, I think, make such a difference, because if you're a good wrestler, you're going to have certain circles, mainly people like me, I guess, who are going to cheer you because you're that good. Doesn't matter if you're supposed to be a heel. I'm going to want to see you. I'm going to cheer you because you are that good.
Yeah, it makes sense.
That sort of stuff, that's going to get boos from me. So I think that's really, really important.
Oh, okay.
I think that makes a big difference.
Yeah. I mean, can't really add to it, mate, to be fair. So, but you could, the stuff she was doing to Bayley in the match, because of the headband, you could say to a degree is cheap heat to a degree. But the other stuff she's doing in the match, and obviously you only hear on TV, you only hear snippets of what she's actually saying, but it's loud enough in some cases where you're like, all right, freaking hell, just it's a bit too, but it's generating like genuine heat, and you're like to the point where, I mean, fans wanted to see Bayley win anyway because of the backstory we saw in the vignette, but even more now because the way Sasha is treating someone who used to be her friend.
Yeah, and the facial expressions and everything.
Exactly.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. We get another sort of, I suppose, layer to the match here. Bayley is working with an injury to her hand. She's got some kind of a brace on or tape on because it was broken recently, then, very recently healed, I think, is this kind of timeline we're dealing with. But Sasha removes all the tape and the brace and then smashes the crap out of her hand using the steps. And again, it's just so vicious and just an extra layer onto the sort of evil and the spite that Sasha's trying to portray in this contest.
All this stuff she's done to like Sasha, not just Sasha, Becky did it to her, Charlotte did it to her, all of them basically screwed her over at some point to get the stepping stone. Essentially, that's the story. But you're kind of adding insult to injury now, no pun intended, with the hand. So you're again adding the heat on to, like, you just want Bayley to smack Sasha in the mouth at some point in this match, basically.
Which is, you make really, really good points there, BenNny, because that's exactly what they're trying to do. That's the story they're trying to tell.
Yeah.
They're trying to get that reaction from you as a fan, so
it worked.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So. A really cool moment happened as well just after this. Sasha goes back into the ring, puts her arms out, gets booed out the building. The referee's leaning over the top rope to sort of start the count on Bayley as she's on the floor. And Sasha just runs and effectively does like a plancha kind of almost like a swanton over the referee out the ring. And I thought that was so good. And that's the sort of thing I mean that's going to get her cheered, because it was freaking brilliant.
Fans like appreciate the wrestling, like as you said earlier. So you know what you said so clearly earlier. So they appreciate. It's almost like the ECW crowd to a degree, not as freaking rabid, but when they see, even though there's a good guy versus a bad guy, when they see good wrestling, you get that sort of like that was freaking awesome. Even though you're the bad guy and we want Bayley to win, that segment was like spot on and it was cool. Yeah. And Barclays Center lit up. To be fair,
exactly.
So
exactly. Bayley does manage to fight back though, and she hits a few suplexes, and sort of it always has like a revival to a degree, but gets cut off again when the bank statement is applied by Sasha out of nowhere.
This was a cool segment, actually, to be fair.
Oh, so good, wasn't it? And the crowd were wild into it, weren't they, BenNny?
Yeah. So obviously, is this the bit where she reverses it eventually?
Yes. The stamping on the hand as well.
That's it. Yeah. So she's got it. Sasha's got it locked in, and she's like proper like giving it some welly, no pun intended. And then Bayley manages to sort of get back up and somehow reverses it, and then into a crossface, but you know, the bank statement as they call it. And the crowd, like you said, were absolutely hysterical. Like, I don't think I heard the words tap out, but if they were probably there, but the crowd were like freaking into it. And I was at this moment. I hadn't watched that match since it happened. Like I said, like the day after watching it, I was like, oh, this is better than I remember it being as well. Not that I thought it was bad. I just like, you have that expectation. I remember that being really good. I was like here, and then as I'm watching it, it's just going.
That's exactly what I had.
So you know,
that's exactly what I had. Yeah,
that's cool, man.
The reactions from the crowd. You get the big reaction when Banks puts the bank statement on, and then she's stamping on her hand, which is just looks vicious and nasty. And as you said, a huge pop with a reversal, and then she hits the Bayley to belly, and it's over.
Well, they end up on the top rope, don't they, first? But and there's some stuff going on. And I forgot that Bayley did that thing with her hair where she ties the ponytail and like, this means business, basically. I completely forgotten about that. When
same as Kurt Angle taking the straps down, isn't it?
Yeah, basically, yeah. You're like, stuff's going down, man. But yeah, she hits the Bayley to belly, and the crowd go absolutely insane when she hits it, and then even more so, the pop when she gets the 3. Yeah, it's just absolutely insane.
I've missed some. Sorry,
reverse Frankensteiner. Yes, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was what you said. They were up on the ropes. You're right.
That's it, yeah.
There was a botched Frankensteiner moment, a botched Hurricane Rana from the one side where Sasha went to go do it, and Bayley went to go do it. Sasha countered it, and Bayley came down looking in a really uncomfortable way. Then there was the reverse Frankensteiner from the top rope.
That's it,
the other corner, and then I'm thinking, okay, she's going to do something else now. I'm thinking this isn't setting up. That's one move in the process of a few of them, and then she hits the Bayley to belly, and I'm thinking, okay, Sasha's going to kick out, but she doesn't.
Yeah, which is nice actually, because you thought she's going to kick out, but she didn't. Because we get a lot of false finishes nowadays that sometimes are a bit. It depends on the story you're telling. But sometimes false finishes, I feel, are unnecessary. Good actually. Backlash literally last night. Cody hit the crossroads, then he went for a second, which I felt was uncalled, which I didn't think was needed. I know that's how he beat Seth at Mania, but I didn't think it was needed. So
that's kind of, I think that may be a throwback to. I say throwback. It wasn't that long ago, but I think that maybe is a throwback to his AEW stuff, because he would always hit 2 in AEW. So maybe that was because he'd hit 1 and people will kick out. So maybe that was something to do with that potentially.
So I like the move. Don't get me wrong, but my psychology with that then is if they're kicking out of it after 1, why are you still using it? Maybe pull it out on occasion, but like I always thought the disaster kick could be the 1-2 and the 3/4, and then you hit the crossroads and then they're done, like type thing. But and it's not just that. Like I said, if you're telling a story. Like Kurt Angle in SummerSlam, I think freaking out 2001, he kicked out of 3 Stone Cold Stunners, I think, or 2, then didn't go out the 3rd. That was to make Angle Angle's tough too. Yes. So sometimes I feel like false finishes are unnecessary, is what I'm getting at.
No, I get you. No, I get you. I like false finishes because it's the drama. I don't necessarily like false finishes when you're killing a finishing move.
Yes, that's what I mean. I don't mean I don't
okay.
like false finishes. I just mean like if you hit one and they kick out, fine. You hit two, kick out, fine. You hit three and they kick out on the third one. You're like, why are you still using this move then?
Yeah.
You know, it makes no sense. So
yeah, exactly.
That's my logic.
Or kicking out of a move that should finish the match. For example, and the big two, and I spoke about it I think last week. The big two for me: super kick and the DDT.
DDT is a pet peeve of mine. DDT was a move that should be used as a 2 3/4 desperation move, maybe to get them off you so you can recover, or a 2 3/4. Maybe occasionally would be nice to see a 3, to be honest with you.
If you look at the logic of it, and a pile driver as well, you're dropping someone on their fucking head.
Yeah.
That should be it.
We saw it at WrestleMania Backlash. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but so if you haven't watched it yet, look away now. Or listen, turn me down for a second. But they did. I can't remember. I think it was Jimmy did a super kick at WrestleMania Backlash and then Orton kind of stumbled and then hit the RKO, and it's like you've just like it took me out of the match in that moment. Overall, it was a good entertaining moment in match and whatever. You hit the super kick and then you sort of stumble and then you hit the RKO. It didn't make any sense. Like hit the RKO, fine, but he went for a cover like almost instantly. When if he should have hit the RKO, he should have been, you know. But yeah,
no, I get you. Shawn Michaels talking about the super kick. Shawn Michaels, he didn't win 5 world titles, but with the super kick, but his 5 world title reigns were based on a fucking super kick, for crying out loud. And this is a guy who was one of the greatest to ever do it. So anyway, we digress.
Sorry about that. That's my fault.
We have Becky and Charlotte coming out. Lots of hugs, lots of tears. And then Sasha, who's just been an incredibly vicious, nasty bitch for the whole duration of this match, a really spiteful bully. She gets in the ring too for a bit of a cuddle, doesn't she? You know, it was a nice moment. It was nice because it was,
I get that.
Making kayfabe a little, I guess, but it's like the group of them together, the history they had together was good, wasn't it?
Well, considering I think they went on to have another match after, why not have Sasha pretend to hug him? Oh, we'll forgive him, then actually like maybe do like the backstabber on or something, you know? It ain't over.
You love a bit of fantasy booking, don't you?
Freaking hell yeah. Well, why do you think I do the freaking why do you think we're doing the 2K22 stuff on BenNy Mack Gaming on Twitch, mate? Come on, that's why, you know?
Fair enough.
Have good fun with it.
So then, out of 10, Benny, what are we giving it?
To be honest, do you do points on 0.5s on this?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think watching it for the first time in many years, I think quite easily, I'll say a solid 9. To be fair, I was going to say 9.5, but I'm going to say 9. I'm going to say 9 because you've reminded me of it. I turned it off after they got the 1, 2, 3 and had a bit of a celebration. I forgot about when she was hugging at the top. I saw it, but I forgot about Sasha coming in.
Right,
takes it away from me a little bit, but 9, man. I think it's a bloody good match. To be fair, it could quite easily be a 10 for me. I'm going to say 9. Be conservative about it.
I've got 8.5. I got 8.5.
Fair enough.
So pretty much in the same ballpark, mate. It was very, very good. I think Bayley is really, really good in the ring. I think Sasha is probably the most talented out of the 4 horsewomen, as the term they use in ring. And the two of them are just superb together. And this match was fantastic. The fact that I didn't remember it correctly made it even better for me. So 8.5 for me, mate.
Fair enough. I think again we've scored roughly the same. We normally do this on Quantum Elite. We're normally about 0.5 off each other.
Yeah.
It's worked out well. Very good match. If anybody's not seen it for some strange reason, I would recommend that whole.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would recommend checking it out. I mean, to be honest, I say that pretty much every week on Chain Wrestling because if we're giving something a 1 or a 2, I'm telling people go check this out. It is that shit. It's going to make you laugh. But if we're then hitting 8.5, 9, whatever, it's like go check it out.
I don't want to overhype it, but it is good.
Yeah, exactly.
So
then, where do we all go next week? Whether Mr. Mags is back to view the match with us or I bring on another guest host, we'll have to wait and see. But we need a poll on Twitter for people to vote in to decide what we're going to be watching. Benny, where do you want us to go?
By the way. I was just saying.
I did see. What are you wanting to be watching?
it links in all quite nicely, actually, because obviously you mentioned Dusty. Dusty was like the godfather of NXT. Yep. Also, you pointed out to me, actually, because I didn't watch the whole show, but Seth Rollins is also in the front row to make it link to this.
Yeah.
But I would like it to go back to 2013. I had to write down, so I always get the dates. 2013. And it's Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns versus Cody and Goldust for the tag team titles, with Dean Ambrose outside the ring, and also Dusty is there as well. So we've got two chains, we've got two links there. To be fair,
I don't remember. I remember a match where Dusty was outside, and I also remember a match where Dean Ambrose was outside. So I must be thinking of the same match.
I would have thought so.
And the Rhodes brothers tagging together, that would be something that would really stick in my mind, but I can't quite place it together. So I find that a really intriguing pick. I'm quite curious as to
even
watch
if it
that
doesn't win the vote, man, I would recommend it. So it's a blooming good match.
Okay, so that's Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns versus Cody and Dustin, I guess. Cody and Goldust, Battleground 2013. Yeah,
2013. Yeah.
Okay, great shout, mate. Great shout. We've not had any Cody on yet, I don't think. So that'd be quite an interesting view. My link is using the building to a degree where we are for this. This is the in Brooklyn. That building there is also the same arena where the 2019 Hall of Fame took place.
Oh, okay.
So the main inductees on the 2019 Hall of Fame were D-Generation X, which takes me very nicely to one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, Mr. Michaels. Yeah, I do that all the time. I love looking at whatever matches that took place in these arenas, where I can find some sort of really obscure Barry Windham match from 1983 or something like that. Yeah, the 2019 Hall of Fame was in the same building, so there's a link there. D-Generation X were the main inductees of the 2019 Hall of Fame in that building. Obviously, a big part of D-Generation X was Shawn Michaels, and inspired quite a bit by Bang Bang podcast that I listened to this morning, and hearing Scottish Danny and Andy Bang Bang talking about this individual wrestling in TNA and how good the guy is and so on. And he's on my Mount Rushmore when we go back to Badlands podcast, the first time I ever spoke to Mags. Shawn Michaels obviously is on my Mount Rushmore anyway, but this guy is also one of the four as well. I'm amazed to find out I've never linked to this match before, so I'm going to throw it out there now. Okay. Using the Arena, DX, Hall of Fame, etc., etc., etc. I want to go to Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 21, and the whole sexy Kurt stuff he did with Sensational Sherry, all the build up and all that sort of stuff. That's what I want to go to. WrestleMania 21, Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle, two of my all-time favorite wrestlers, putting on an absolute barnstormer of a match.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm actually gutted nobody's going to see Battleground now, to be fair, because you've thrown that.
You don't know, because if I start talking Shawn Michaels, people just roll their eyes and go, "Oh, fuck, I get it."
I remember that match. It was a good one, to be fair. So
yeah, it was very good. We got Dan Griffin here in the chat saying, "Good shout. I remember that tag match being great." And then he follows it up by saying, "Which war games am I going for?"
I saw that. I was trying not to laugh because I thought you'd click on it at some point. I was trying not to laugh. I was like, yeah. Every time I see the poll near enough, it feels like there's a War Games match every single time.
We've only covered I think 2 War Games, maybe 3 War Games.
Have you covered any of the NXT War Games?
Yeah, it was literally a week or 2 ago. Do you not listen to the show, Benny, you prick? I'm still waiting. I'm behind, mate, by about 5 or 6 episodes, to be fair. Oh, dear.
I'm also waiting for my check for my voiceover work I did for the first few that I did for you.
Anyway. Benny, do you want to very quickly, I suppose, those are your options for the poll. We have Battleground 2013. We have Cody and Dustin versus Seth and Roman, with Dean Ambrose and Dusty Rhodes on the outside. A great tag match there. We have Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle, WrestleMania 21. A great singles match there. Sharon does say here, to be fair, the War Games was Sharon. Yeah, she put forward a War Games option, and that was in recent weeks. So, there we go. There we go. That is pretty much it for this week, my friend. Do you want to let everybody know whereabouts they can find you online and all the other content and shows and streaming and so on that you're involved in.
If you want to join us tomorrow night on BenNny Mack Gaming on Twitch, we're going to be starting the WCW Nitro show, like you said, the fantasy booking. If you happen to own the copy of WWE 2K22, it doesn't matter what platform you're on now, because they've done the community curations where you can download other people's wrestlers. We want to make it like a separate NXT with all created superstars, your ones, to make like a little core thing. But to find me, to find all that would be easier. Go to Twitter and just look, as you see below, it's at BenNny Mack, BenNyMack. There's a link tree in there, and then you can find everything I'm doing, trying to do, and also working on at the same time. So yeah, but we're going to be live tomorrow 8:30 and Wednesday 8:30 for some WWE 2K22 talk wrestling and have a bit of a laugh as we watch these fantasy matches unfold before we crown our first champions, because we've made all our bouts this year, Si, as well. Every single championship is mine's inspired by WWE. His is inspired by WCW. I think you dig his WCW World Bout that Nick made. I've made the International Championship, and it's inspired. You have to look at it, but it's inspired by the Oval, as I mentioned earlier. But it's also got a United Kingdom look about it as well. So we've done our own sort of thing, and then we also have a pay-per-view every 2 weeks on a Sunday. And basically there's going to be drafts this time. None of us know what we're going to get. So if he wins a certain match, or his guy wins a match, or his woman wins a match, we get a draft pick who haven't not been picked yet in our little fantasy world over here at BenNy Mack Gaming, basically.
Excellent stuff, mate. Excellent stuff. Yeah, go and check it all out, everybody. Go and check it all out. Yeah, it sounds it. It sounds it. I mean, I'm not much of a gamer, but at the same time, it does sound quite interesting, all this sort, especially like you said, the fantasy booking and the GM role of putting stuff together. And yeah, I can imagine it'd be a good crack. So yeah, everyone should go and check that out. Now, you can follow me on Twitter at SJP Words, and on Facebook, I suppose there's a group on Facebook, SJP All the Shows and Info, and you can find all the links to everything I'm involved in via those two main points of contact. So whether that is the waiting room that I do with a certain young man that is to my left, right, I don't know, the camera flips around, it confuses me. That way. There you go. That I do with Mr. BenNy Mack, looking back on Quantum Leap, one show at a time. Brilliant stuff. I absolutely adore doing that show. We have the Doctor Who pod that I do with Dan Griffin. Again, absolutely adore that. Looking back at more sci-fi, time travel, wibbly wobbly nonsense, looking at Doctor Who. Coming to the end of season 1 now, but season 2 will be with us very, very soon also. Or we have Nitro Nights if wrestling is just more of your bag, looking at WCW, one Nitro at a time, and then pay-per-views, Thunder, and so on. Lots of stuff to get through there, the weird and wonderful world of WCW. But most importantly, you can find this show at @chain_wrestling on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and that TikTok thingy. Chuck us a follow. SJP Words at SJP Words on Twitter for me is the best place to find links to all my stuff, though. There we go then, mate. There we go. Have you enjoyed yourself, BenNy?
Yeah, it was all right. Nah, it was good, man. I appreciate it. You look like you're about to nut me one then. Nah, it's good, man. The amount of people that give you comments about the non-wrestling topic is I think somebody put in the comments earlier, possibly the longest one ever. I think that might be my fault, I'm not sure, or whether it's because we had so many questions, I'm not sure. I do have a tendency to ramble, as you can tell. It's been brilliant. I appreciate the love in the chat as well. It's so cool to be part of, like, you know, your audience and have them actually like me. It's quite nice. In terms of looking young, I think it's just a light I've got set up over here, really, to be honest with you.
Okay, just clever lighter. I'm going to have to try and do something with mine then, aren't I suppose?
But yeah, no, it's been absolutely amazing to talk to all of you, including you, Si, as always, man, and I appreciate it. I'd love to come back on if you. I might be free next week. That's all I'm saying. Only if my match wins, though.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We will see. We will see. As always, Mr. Mags, we love you a bit. Can't wait to see you again. BenNy, thank you so much for stepping in and filling the hot seat this week in our sort of semi-revolving door of guest hosts. I'm off now to see if I can track down a copy of Blair Witch Project, just to see if I'm brave enough to watch it. I'll see you all next week, people.
Thank you very much.
Let's get ready to rumble!